So guys, what if Naruto was lazy devil and Sona as slave? In High School DxD movie. Sona Citri sat in contemplation as she thought about how her peerage was coming so far. For the most part everything was going as planned. Many members of her peerage were training and improving on their designated skills. Since the acquisition of her new pawn, Saji Genshuru, she had increased the amount of training every member of her peerage gone through and continued to develop her weaker members, hoping to unlock their potential soon enough. She built her peerage strategically. Each member had their respective purposes, all complementing one another on the battlefield, something she would face in the near future. Muttering softly to herself, Sona continued to stroll further down the lonely street she currently occupied. A sudden call quickly snapped her out of her thoughts. Turning her head to the voice calling out her name, Sona spotted the familiar figure of Naruto Biel standing on the other side of the street, standing considerably taller than she had last seen him, with his spiky blonde hair swept into an unruly mess. He was garbed in a pair of dark pants and boots with a bright out-of-place orange jacket covering his frame. "Naruto, what are you doing here?" Sona asked, her brow raised in question. Though she did not mind the blonde Biel, his sudden appearance in Kuo raised some alarms. What could possibly make the unmotivated Biel journey to Kuo of all places? Since Naruto had been given his evil pieces, he left the underworld in order to gather a peerage and only made appearances when he needed to be, though she only assumed Lord Biel forced him to do so. Knowing Naruto, he would have slipped away and took a nap somewhere. "I got hungry and decided to find some ramen," Naruto said, rubbing the back of his head when he spotted the pointed stare Sona sent his way. Sighing at his response, Sona shook her head and crossed her arms. "Naruto, why are you in Kuo? Last time I heard Lord Zekrom and Lord Biel have been training you." Nodding his head, Naruto motioned to the small ramen stand located just ahead of the road and smiled. "I'll tell you if you join me for a ramen date, Sa-chan." Fighting off her exasperation as she massaged her forehead in mild annoyance, Sona gave Naruto a frown and sighed once again. Accepting his offer with a single nod of her head, Sona allowed Naruto to guide her to the ramen stand as she listened politely to his pointless rambling, making sure to note each and every question that came to her mind for the upcoming questioning session. As she and Naruto ordered their lunch and watched the chef prepare their meal, Sona coughed slightly, catching Naruto's attention and stopping his barely coherent stream of words. "You haven't answered my question yet," Sona said, her voice sharp and demanding. Staring at Sona for a moment, his usual cheeriness gone, Naruto's seriousness erupted a large grin. "You look cute when you're serious, So-chan. Take this seriously." Sona snapped back, her cheeks flushed in embarrassment. No matter how many times she spoke with the blonde, she could never get used to his flirtatious teasing. It was possibly worse than her sister, Seraphals, shuddering at the thought of Naruto and Seraphal in the same room together. She muttered something softly to herself, low enough for Naruto to not hear her. Her train of thought was quickly derailed when loud slurps filled the air. Naruto currently sat on high seat, seemingly inhaling the noodles, completely ignoring the chewing process entirely, studying him with an avid fascination. Sona looked on in a disgusted display of noodle consumption. "You should chew your food, Naruto." "Come on, Sa-chan, this ramen is just so delicious. I can't help myself," Naruto replied, grinning from ear to ear at her statement. His grin dropped somewhat when he spotted the frown directed his way. Clasping his hands together in a pleading fashion, he thought over her previous question and decided to answer it in order to keep one of his oldest friends from getting angry. "I am here because I heard Rias got a new pawn, and being the good friend I am, I wanted to personally greet him." "So you left the underworld without Lord Zekrom or Lord Biel knowing and decided to come here in order to hide from them?" Sona all but stated a grin of her own surfacing when she spotted the pout lingering on Naruto's expression. She had practically grown up with the blonde idiot. They became fast friends during one of the many ceremonies the Citri clan and the Biel clan attended, to which a majority of heirs and heiress joined their parents. Their bond caused a considerable amount of stir in the underworld at that time. Rumors of an arranged marriage between any member of the 72 Pillars created attention, but this rumor included the Biel clan, the most influential member of the entire underworld, more so than even the four great Satans themselves. Chuckling slightly to himself, Naruto nodded his head at her and rested his chopsticks down, now content with his horribly secret now spilt. Ever since his consummation, his father and Zekrom had a dictating force in his life. Both of them were keen on grooming him to take over as the heir from his elder brother Cyroorg. Since he showed talent for the power of destruction, his education and training regime doubled, with the best tutors in the underworld hired to teach him a variety of topics, from politics to manners. While his ancestor and his father were more than happy to push both his training and education further, all he wanted to do was find a nice patch of grass in the Biel Castle's luxurious gardens and take a nap. "They just want me to learn about boring politics," Naruto groaned out a pain-filled sigh escaping his lips. All I want to do is take a long nap or eat some food. Almost palming her face at Naruto's uninterested drawl towards the workings of the underworld, Sona fought back the incoming headache. No matter how many years passed, Naruto would still be the same. Before their conversation could progress, a large magic circle appeared on the ground next to the small ramen stand, and out came Zekrom Biel. Though nearly reaching the twilight of his life, the progenitor of the Biel clan stood tall, his calculating purple eyes narrowing in thought at the sight of Naruto and Sona. "Do you mind telling me why you left the castle so swiftly?" Zekrom questioned, his narrowed eyes bearing down onto the bored figure of his descendant. Giving Sona a single glance, Zekrom nodded his head in greeting to the Sea-Tree heiress and took a seat to Naruto's unoccupied right. "I should leave. It was good seeing you again, Naruto," Sona said, bowing her head slightly to the great king before she turned and left the two Bales alone. When Sona was out of earshot, Naruto gave Zekrom a small shrug of his shoulders. "You know I am not interested in politics or even the role as the heir. We had an agreement, Naruto. You would become the next Lord Biel and I would help you find out how you were reincarnated into this world." A pregnant silence filled the air as Naruto frowned slightly at the mention of their agreement. Sighing in defeat, he nodded to Zekrom and accepted the words with a grain of salt. He never broke a promise before. Like hell, his reincarnated self would be breaking any. "Do you have to bring that up every time?" "Yes. As the next head of the Biel clan, you must be keen on politics. Since the Great War, we devils have been in a decline. The civil war between the current Satans and the descendants of the old Satans did not help our dwindling numbers. We managed to obtain a very delicate form of a ceasefire for quite some time now, and it is our job to maintain it. Sounds like Konoha after the Third Great Shinobi War, and when Kurama was released. When I was born, my village lost a ton of shinobi, but when Obito and Zetsu came around to start the Fourth Great War, all of the villages came together to kick their ass." Grunting somewhat at words, Zekrom pondered on the idea of coming together with the angels and the Fallens, all before snorting at the very thought. No matter what, the bad blood between the three biblical factions ran deep, and while Naruto's idea was welcomed, it would never work when each faction was the antithesis of the other. The very idea was entirely too far-fetched for him to even believe, yet, here he was thinking over the foolish idea and the benefits it could potentially reap. Hey, if anyone could snap the factions out of their bloody standstill, then the latest addition to the Biel clan would. Something about the blonde made him believe in the impossibilities he spoke of. If Naruto managed to convince him of all people, then perhaps with the great king's influence the underworld could prosper once more. "Very well then, there is a gathering between the Biel clan elders. I will be present. Do as you wish for the week. I have other business with your father. Just make sure you don't cause too much trouble. My influence can only go so far." "Hey, don't lie now, Gramps. I know you're the single most powerful person in the entire underworld." Making sure to hide the pleased smile threatening to break out in full force, Zekrom left Naruto to his own devices, his mind racing with plans for the future, many of them now in need to be changed to accommodate more information he gathered today. Ever since he found out his descendant's little secret, he managed to convince the current Lord Biel to allow him to train the boy. Naruto was an unknown factor after all. A few days later, Naruto enjoyed many things in his life. But his favorite activity in the world, other than consuming ramen in a frightening level, was taking a much-needed nap. He currently laid down on the roof of some building, resting against the warm sun, a content smile stretched across his lips. Though night was fast approaching and streets' lights were pre-lit in anticipation for the coming darkness, Naruto enjoyed the soft breeze that occasionally brushed against his resting form. His perfect day, however, did not last. His intrusion was in the form of a smiling teenager with long vermilion hair tied into a bun and dressed like in a traditional Chinese martial arts jacket with sleeves to boot. "Oi, master, are you still alive?" Groaning aloud at his rook, Naruto opened his eyes and stared pointedly at the smiling martial artist, all before sighing in defeat. Ever since he had reincarnated him into his peerage, his long naps were no longer available. "What is it, Kamui? Do I have to kick your ass again?" "Mo. Master, why are you so mean to me?" The newly named Kamui said, a pout appearing on his normally smiling face. "Your loyal servant only came to tell you about the interesting fight happening in Kuo Academy. I sensed the little scuffle from here. Remember, Kamui, a hero shows up at the last minute." Nodding his head in understanding, Kamui quickly produced a small notebook and pencil, jotting down the words of his master in vigor. "But master, can't I go and have some fun while you finish your nap? I saw some fallen angel there and I want to tear his wings apart." Thinking over the deranged comment, Naruto muttered something to himself and turned to Kamui. A nod of approval followed. "Just make sure you don't hurt him too badly." Saluting in response, Kamui quickly shot into the air as he sprinted towards the school, his eyes burning with anticipation. Landing softly against the concrete ground, Kamui spotted the barrier erected around the school and sighed at the devils maintaining it, giving them a pleasant wave followed by a big smile on his face. Kamui's eyes landed on the frowning figure of Sona Citri. Yo, Lady Sona, name's Kamui. My master ordered me to help out with your little crow problem. And who exactly is your master? Sona demanded, her bespectacled gaze narrowing in thought. Naruto Biel. Sighing at the mention of her friend, she quickly ordered her peerage to lessen their magical flow and allowed Kamui to stroll inside the barrier with relative ease. Though she wanted to ask more questions about Naruto's mysterious peerage, she refrained and motioned for Kamui to join the battle where the Gremory peerage were already busy attempting to stop Kokebiel. Her mind lingered on Naruto and Kamui until she ordered for her peerage to return to maintaining the barrier. Hopefully Naruto's reinforcement would be enough to hold Kokebiel off until more help came along. Kamui dashed to the battlefield, a grin fully formed on his face. Landing beside the members of the Gremory peerage, he waved to them, greeting. Before they could ask any more questions, he ran forward at the fallen angel, his smile widening at the massive light spear launched by Kokebiel. Cocking his fist back and slamming it against the large projectile, he shattered it into harmless shards. Kamui did not have much time to move as Kokebiel's wings protruded from his back and attempted to pierce his still form. Moving gracefully around the deadly attacks, he managed to grab onto a single wing and he ripped with all of his might. Blood and feathers cascaded onto the dirt ground as Kokebiel roared in pain, recoiling from his now missing wing. I'll kill you. Do you hear me? Kokebiel howled in rage, his beady eyes locked onto Kamui's smile. Raising both of his hands and forming a massive light spear, Kokebiel did not have time to even launch his premature weapon when Kamui slammed his fist against his exposed chest, sending him crashing into the school's main building. Gripping Kokebiel's face with an outstretched arm, Kamui used his free hand and punched the fallen angel with all of his might. Keeping him pinned to the hole he had made, Kamui continued to pelt Kokebiel with various punches until his eyes spotted the light spear forming in the cadre's hands. Releasing his opponent and jumping back into a safe distance, Kamui watched onwards as Kokebiel's bloodied face twisted into a hideous smile. Motivated by the fallen's own smile, Kamui fell into a quick stance awaiting his opponent to charge. Mo. That was mean, you know. You almost ruined my favorite shirt, Kamui chided, much to Kokebiel's annoyance. Making a dramatic fashion of brushing off the dust on his shirt, Kamui quickly dodged an incoming light spear. Come on, Mr. Crow, no need to be so angry. Filthy devil. Kokebiel bolted towards Kamui, slashing at the rook in a crazed, uncoordinated fashion. But no matter how many times he tried to slice the smiling Kamui in half, Kokebiel's attacks were either parried or dodged in an effortless fashion. With each miss, the fallen angel grew angrier and angrier until the point logic flew out the window and he was just trying to land a single hit on Kamui. In his anger-driven haze, however, Kokebiel outstretched his arm in an attempt to stab Kamui, leaving his limb exposed for a counterattack. Kamui, being the monstrous individual he was, locked Kokebiel's wrist in a vice grip and applied enough pressure to break the bone. As Kokebiel screamed in pain, Kamui smiled in appreciation, all before pulling the fallen angel towards him. Once he was in range, Kamui reeled his free hand backwards and pummeled his opponent on the shoulder, breaking another series of bones. Chuckling at the damaged form of Kokebiel, he readied to strike again, but Kokebiel quickly unleashed his wings and used them to block the incoming punch. Roaring at Kamui's unsuspecting face, Kokebiel used his only working arm and knocked the rook backwards, not giving Kamui a chance to recover. Kokebiel sent a flurry of light spears towards him and scurried to the air. Now you die. Ahahahahahaha. Watching the battle rage on, Naruto whistled at Kamui's sadistic attacks and smiled somewhat at the shit-eating grin his rook was wearing. Turning his attention to the haunting aura next to him, the blonde Biel motioned to Kuo Academy in the distance. Thanks for agreeing to let Kamui have his fun, Valley. I appreciate it. Smirking at Naruto's cheery voice, Valley Lucifer merely nodded in kind, his attention lingering on Kamui and Kokebiel. Naruto's rook was making short work of the cadre and Valley enjoyed every second of it. He never liked the bastard and watching him get effortlessly pummeled only made Valley's day more enjoyable. That and he found a new opponent worthy of his attention. Even if Naruto hit it well, Valley's battle-hardened instincts told him opposite of the weak, unassuming mask Naruto put on. Hey! Even now he could sense the power of destruction oozing off of the blonde. No problem, Naruto, but it looks like Kokebiel is preparing to activate that seal of his, Valley mused, pointing a finger at the glowing sigil illuminating the ground. How boring he has to resort to using a spell to beat my cute little rook, Naruto said, disappointment evident in his voice. Come on Valley, let's go stop the bastard from doing something stupid. As the duo flew towards the excitement, Kokebiel was laughing in a crazed manner, his crooked smile only widening at the annoyed expression now firmly plastered on Kamui's face. I will start another great war here. You were a worthy opponent, but you will die like every one of these filthy devils. With the destruction of Kuo, another war will. His long annoying monologue ended just like that when Valley and Naruto flew downwards from the air, interrupting the crazed fallen angel. In his stupor, Valley flew towards Kokebiel in an impressive amount of speed, landing a solid punch on him. Using his sacred gear to launch Kokebiel away and preventing him from activating his spell, Naruto on the other hand merely flicked his wrist and launched a paltry wave of demonic power into the glowing seal, eradicating it from the world. Valley lifted the battered form of Kokebiel and some beaten priest, nodding his thanks to Naruto. However, there would be conversation never came up when the intimidating voice escaped the gauntlet of the boosted gear. Are you ignoring me, White One? Valley turned his attention over to the surprised Issei and stayed silent, allowing his Longinus to do the talking. So you were alive, Red One, but this isn't the best time to meet. Agreed, we are destined to battle one another, but this is not the time. See you later then, Albion. Diedrich, and I will meet you when I want to test your power of destruction, Naruto, Valley declared, nodding his head in goodbye. Watching Valley rocket to the air and leave in a speck of light, Naruto turned to the somewhat bloodied form of Kamui and smiled. Good work there, Kamui. You kicked Kokebiel's ass. Now let's go get some ramen, you deserve it. Oh oi, just who the hell are you two? The loud demanding voice of Issei Hyodo rang to life as he pointed an accusatory finger at Naruto and Kamui alike. I am hurt, Rias. You never told your peerage members about me, Naruto said, dramatically clutching his chest as if he had been struck. Sighing at the commotion, Rias rubbed her nose and gave Naruto a pleasant smile. It never came up, Naruto, but thank you for the help. No problem. I couldn't let the big bad Kokashit over here hurt my Ri-chan and So-chan now. Walking into the battlefield with a hand on her hip, Sona scowled at Naruto's nickname. I told you to never call me that in public. You're so serious, So-chan, Naruto said, giving the unamused Sitri his best smile. He then turned to Tsubaki Shinra, Sona's queen, and gave her a flirtatious wink and clasped her hands and kneeled. Su-chan, it's been forever, have you considered marrying me yet? Naruto. Sona snapped, grabbing hold of his ear and yanking the blonde to his feet. Stop flirting with my peerage. Wincing in pain, Naruto gave Sona a cheeky grin and leaned in close, their faces a mere inch apart. Sa-chan, are you jealous? You don't have to be. You're my number one. Die. A day later, I can't believe she actually tried to kill me, Naruto muttered as he clutched onto the large bruise on his head courtesy of Sona. In these instances he wished he still had Kurama in him. That healing factor of his was godsend. He currently sat on a patch of grass overlooking a large portion of Dragon Moten, where Kamui currently trained with an imposing dragon as his sparring partner. Chuckling at his half-brother's expense, Cyroorg Biel smiled at Naruto's pouting expression, enjoying the situation a little too much. You'll live, Naruto. Just make sure you avoid Sona until she has calmed down. You worry too much, Cyroorg. Now why did you wake me up from my nap? Naruto asked. I've been busy training and I heard you participated in the battle against Kokebiel. I just wanted to know how strong he was, Cyroorg answered, shrugging his shoulders somewhat. Turning away from the spar, he turned to Naruto and sighed at the boredom well documented on his expression. Coughing to catch Naruto's attention, he gave his younger brother a serious look. Naruto, I want to challenge you for the position as heir. You can have it. I just want to spend my time napping and eating good food. The only reason I haven't pawned it off to Magdaran are you as cause of the wrinkly bastard. Grinning at Naruto's frank response, Cyroorg shook his head as he continued. You're right, Naruto, father and the elders won't accept it if you just gave me the title. I purpose we decide it through a rating game. What do you say, Naruto? Staring at Cyroorg's outstretched hand and the overly determined expression to boot, Naruto took in a sharp breath and gave his brother an equally serious look before it shifted in a full-blown grin. Pass. What? Sorry, Cyroorg, but I am just not interested. Then why do you have a peerage? Cyroorg's statement was sound. Evil pieces were created in order to help the devils stop their dwindling birth rates, but since their creation, they were more or utilized to form peerages, which in turn allowed high-class devils to participate in rating games. Since rating games were the fastest ways to gain prestige and fame in the underworld, everyone participated in them. But to Naruto, he could not give a damn if he were famous or not. I just make my peerage handle my responsibilities. You should try that sometime. Sighing in defeat, Cyroorg nodded his head and accepted Naruto's half-assed response, shifting his attention towards his queen, Kushia Abaddon. Some distance away, chatting with Naruto's knight, he beckoned her over. Kushia, we're leaving. Goodbye for now, Naruto. See ya, Cyroorg, Naruto responded in kind, waving to the duo as they left in a quick teleportation circle. Master. A soft voice greeted. Turning to the direction of the voice, Naruto smiled brightly at his knight, Shiki Ryugi. Her normally cold expression softened at the sight of her king. Taking a seat beside him under the shade, Shiki pushed back some loose strands of black hair backwards and smiled gently. Shiki's gray eyes glimmered at the sight of Kamui and Tanin's brawl, and she returned her attention to Naruto. Master, do you want something to eat? Eyes narrowing mischievously, Naruto pulled in close to his knight and whispered, some of your fabulous thighs? Not on the menu, master. How about your delicious rump? Master, please refrain from stooping to such a behavior unworthy of someone of your stature, Shiki said as she gave Naruto a well-timed smack on the head, her lips twitching in amusement at Naruto's audible groans. How about some bento? Sounds good, Naruto muttered, whimpering at his latest injury. It did not take Shiki long to return with a large stack of bento boxes. With the addition of food, the trio sat in the shade, all of them enjoying their meals. Tanin had left them after lodging Kamui into the face of a mountain, forcing Naruto to retrieve his very annoyed rook. With his injuries healed from a vial of phoenix tears, Kamui was enjoying Shiki's expertly prepared meals. Knowing how the two of them ate, Shiki had prepared enough food to feed an entire village, which were being devoured in record time. Ha! This is my 6th box, master. Try and keep up. Kamui cheerily goaded. Finding no humor in the taunting, Shiki gave Kamui a hearty bonk on the head, her brows furrowed. Don't talk with your mouth full, Kamui. Sorry, big sis. Your cooking is just so good. You have something on your cheek, Kamui. Here. Watching the exchange, Naruto mused to himself as Kamui attempted to escape Shiki's doting hand. Maybe being reincarnated wasn't so bad. Standing outside of the Bael castle with his legs crossed and his eyes closed, Kamui attempted to meditate to no avail, sighing in defeat. The vermilion-haired devil opened his eyes, blinking in surprise at the sight that greeted him. Garbed in a hideous orange tracksuit with an annoyed Shiki in tow, Naruto grinned cheerily at him, saying his greetings to the two. Kamui quickly stood following his king to their new destination, though well hidden behind his usual smile. His frustration over the lack of progress in unlocking Tuki annoyed Kamui to no end. When Naruto showed him the strange ability, Kamui already knew he wanted to learn it. Naruto firstly instructed him on training his body to the absolute limits, and in addition to that he offered to teach him how to meditate, but nothing seemed to work. Where are we going, master? Kamui finally asked as his smile dipped somewhat into a frown, his sentiments shared with Shiki. Training. Kamui, I want to see how far you progressed in unlocking Tuki, Naruto answered back, giving Kamui a pat on the back. You've been training so hard, and being the awesome master that I am going to help you. Now fully invigorated, Kamui shook off his annoyance and turned to Shiki, who only groaned at his response. He loved every minute of training his body, but Shiki on the other hand hated the time of day their training eclipsed. Both Kamui and Naruto knew better than anger the kimono-wearing swordswoman early in the morning. Kamui had made the mistake of training inside. When Shiki woke up and attempted to kill him with a ruler, it ended very badly, to say the least. Even without her sword, Shiki's mystic eyes were truly frightening. She could sever anyone's lines of death with just about anything. Just how Naruto managed to get Shiki out of bed and into a matching tracksuit to boot mystified him. Yosh, we're here, Naruto declared, landing softly on an uneven patch of grass. The trio currently occupied a large clearing inside the large forest surrounding Bael Castle. None of the Baels minus Naruto went to the forest, much less servants, so the massive location could be used for training. Waiting for them to arrive was a short man covered in golden fur with dark wrinkly skin, garbed in a monk's cassock with a staff in hand. Good to see you again, old man. Still no respect for your elders, eh, Naruto? I approved. The man shouted, cackling at Naruto's words. Who the hell's this guy, master? Kamui asked. It wasn't Naruto or the stranger who answered him. Shiki grunted and gave Kamui an off-handed glance. He is Sun Wukong, the first Monkey King. Bawahahaha. You know about me, girl? Good. Makes this easier. You there, shitstain? Naruto asked me to be your teacher, Sun Wukong said, pointing a finger at the twitching figure of Kamui. Ignoring the rook and turning to Shiki, his hidden eyes studying the cold woman a little before returning his attention to Naruto. Master, I wanted to learn Tuki, not get batting lessons from some geezer. Kamui moaned aloud, throwing his hands up in exasperation. Before he could complain any more, Sun Wukong lengthened his legendary staff and gave him a good smack on the head. The hell was that for? Get your ass over here, shitstain, we're going to the mountains, Sun Wukong shouted, grabbing Kamui by the head and dragging him away. With that being said, both Kamui and his new teacher left in a hurry, leaving both Naruto and Shiki alone in the woods. Watch image them leave. Shiki narrowed her eyes and nodded to Naruto. Are we headed to Agrayas now, master? Nope. The wrinkly bastard can wait. I am going to take a nap before going over there, Naruto replied, taking a seat against the base of a tree. Why don't you join me, Shiki? We can have so much fun while. Why did I accept your offer to become a devil? Because you love me. False. Smiling somewhat at Naruto's pout, Shiki sighed to herself and took a seat next to the blonde, contemplating how she had even became his knight in the first place. Flashback. Tokyo a few years ago, trudging through an abandoned warehouse deep in the city. Shiki Ryugi scowled at the monster occupying the decaying building. Cracked bones littered the floor, with fresh and dried blood splattered on the walls and floor of the dingy room. Resting at the center of a room with a barely functioning light bulb flickering above sat some monstrosity awaiting its next meal. From what little light she could use, Shiki managed to make out some details of the monster haunting Tokyo and its inhabitants, with long, pale limbs stretched out from a bulging body. The large monster had short hind legs that looked barely usable. Long cascading black hair descended from the skull of it. The most normal part of it was its face. The monster had a heavenly visage with alluring caramel eyes and a dazzling smile to boot. Its face, though breathtaking, seemed to be permanently set onto a beautiful smile. That being said, Shiki had little doubt her face was what drew in its victims. Many fell prey to its divine attraction, something that would never work on her. Brandishing her knife, Shiki narrowed her gray eyes and felt the familiar sensation of her mystic eyes activate. Colored lines stretched across the monster's body. Mystic eyes of death perception, as they were dubbed, were an interesting pair of eyes that allowed its users to literally perceive death. It allowed users to see the lines of death stretched all around their victims' bodies, which in turn allowed the users to act on their perception. To be more precise, the lines of death once cut resulted in death. Death emerged on the surface of everything in the form of lines. Some theorized that the lines were the body's weakest points. When sliced, it would activate the death of the object or person. Your legs. Shiki muttered. Her glowing blue eyes spotted the large zigzags of lines stretched around the monster's short legs. Launching forward with her knife in hand, she reached forward hoping to slice its exposed lines, but the monster had other ideas. Using its long limbs and batting Shiki into a wall, it roared and rushed at the still recovering woman. For something that had seemingly short, ineffective legs, it moved like a man possessed, twisting and turning so swiftly its entire body functioned like a distorted toy. Diving toward Shiki's body with its mouth opening to reveal a cavern of jagged teeth, Shiki barely had enough time to roll away. The monster shot through the warehouse walls like a bullet, tearing through its weakened structure and crash-landed into a neighboring building. Damn, I was careless. Shiki hissed, her body still feeling the full weight of the monster's attack. Though its limbs were long and seemingly lacking in muscle, when it had knocked her to the side, it effortlessly broken a rib or two. Recovering a little from her earlier blunder, Shiki backpedaled when the monster jumped right back into action, only taking a few seconds to shake off some fallen debris. Screeching at her, the monster swung randomly with her limbs, though they were moving at an impressive pace. Shiki made a split decision and dodged behind a pillar. It slapped the metal pillar away, taking too long to retract its outstretched arm. Using her opportunity with vigor, Shiki slashed at the line attached to its elbow and watched as its arm detached itself from the main body. Black blood sprayed from the wound, drenching Shiki in the gross liquids. With the monster roaring in pain, Shiki pursued, shooting towards its next line. She slashed once more. Like before, her knife pierced its pale body and off came another limb, but in its effort to kill Shiki, the monster thrashed carelessly around the already damaged warehouse, knocking over more support beams. Damn it. Shiki cursed as she dodged an incoming piece of rubble. Weaving past scattering parts of the warehouse, she zipped past through the door she had initially entered from and exited with nothing too damaged. Not even given time to celebrate, Shiki was forced to dodge more debris as her supposedly crushed enemy arose, roaring louder than before. Looks like you could use some help here, a voice called out. Turning in the direction of it, she spotted a blonde barely older than she was grinning in her direction. Sending him a frown and raising her knife to his face, she all but demanded, "Leave, now." "Nope. Sorry, they're beautiful, but I was sent to kill this stray devil. Name's Naruto, by the way." Blinking owlishly at Naruto's outstretched hand, she snapped her head back at the monster, completely ignoring his gesture. Looking hurt at her response, Naruto crossed his arms and sighed. "You know it's rude to do that, right? Shiki, now get out of here. You're in my way," she snapped, her annoyance growing by the second. "I can take care of myself, Shi-chan." Opening his palm and forming a large orb of demonic energy, Naruto launched it at the stray devil's body, watching it collide and explode with its target from the sidelines. Shiki marveled somewhat at Naruto and shook her head, mildly impressed at the display of magic. She snorted at his celebratory smile when the stray howled again. After Naruto's attack, it was now heavily damaged. Most of its lower body was destroyed, leaving little to nothing but some parts of its chest and head. Walking to its dying form, Shiki raised her knife and slashed its final line, ending its life for good. Few nice moves out there, Shi-chan. How about you join my peerage? Naruto asked, quickly grabbing hold of Shiki's hands, ignoring the black blood she seemingly bathed in. No. But you didn't even get to see the slideshow. No. Shiki never got to finish when she looked to her chest, eyes widening a little. A piece of scrap metal somehow pierced her stomach without her noticing during her little scuffle. Naruto, spotting her injury too, was quick to act. Grabbing hold of her and looking intently at the wound, he frowned and sighed at the distrust brimming in gray eyes. Come on. I am taking you to the hospital. Slapping Naruto's offered hand, Shiki applied pressure to her wound and began walking herself in the direction of a small emergency room she passed by during her hunt. To her credit, she managed good enough distance before her legs gave way to blood loss. Though barely conscious, she felt herself being lifted into the air by the blonde. Taking a glance towards to Naruto, she spotted a pair of bat-like wings lifting them to the air. "The demon," was all she managed to say as her body finally gave out to pain and ushered in much-needed rest. A few days later. So you're a devil, yup, and there are angels too. Staring intently at Naruto with scrutiny in her gaze, Shiki sighed and rested against her bed. It had been some time after her initial hospitalization. She hated just sitting on the bed, unable to do anything. Not many people knew about her injury, and the only one who visited her countlessly was Naruto. After asking him to stop the hospital from contacting her parents, he did as she requested and did something to stop the staff's endless pursuit of contacting her family. Today of all days was like any other one. Shiki sat on her bed looking outside longingly. Naruto, being a pillar of her routine in the hospital, usually brought in a variety of food he found. Today's dish was ramen. Something he boasted on and on about as if it were a heavenly existence. You know, eating so much ramen is bad for you, Shiki said, her voice catching Naruto's attention. Take that back, Shi-chan. You might be hurt, but it'll kick your ass anyway, Naruto replied, his hardened eyes staring intently at her. Holding her free hand up in defeat, Shiki managed to eat a few more bites of the noodles until she was full. No matter how many times she tried to tell him she wasn't hungry, whenever he brought in food he would ignore her and constantly force her to at least eat some. In the short few days of meeting Naruto, she found out just how damn stubborn her doting acquaintance really was. No matter how many times she tried to deny him, he would figure out a way to get past her walls. Naruto, how much longer are they going to keep me? Shiki asked, her eyes falling onto her hospital gown. The doctor said at least another week. They're scared you might open your wound, the blonde answered, waving off her disappointed grunt. Patting Shiki on the head and grinning at her trepidation, he chuckled and reached for her unfinished bowl of ramen. Getting hold of some noodles and toppings onto her spoon, he offered her one last bite. Come on, Shi-chan, it took me an hour to get this ramen here. Fine. As Naruto fed her one last bite, he closed off the ramen and tossed away what was left of it and his own meal. Taking his seat on Shiki's bed, he flashed her a grin and began animatedly talking about anything and everything. She initially found his meaningless conversations bothersome and never offered to speak unless necessary. But in time she found herself enjoying random topics they seemed to go on about until it was time for Naruto to leave. Every day Naruto kept her company, and sometimes he would join her in the hospital. Their days continued like this until she needed to know why he kept coming back. Why? Sighing the millionth time at his dense response, she tried once more. Why do you keep coming back? You've repaid me enough and I am not going to join your peerage even if you keep. Shi-chan, I am not here to make you feel like ya owe me. I am here to keep a friend company, that's all. Naruto answered, smiling gently at her demanded stare. Sides, I know how much it hurts being lonely. Release day. Staring at her room, Shiki nodded her thanks to her longtime nurse and mouthed her appreciation to the doctor as well. She convinced the staff to allow her to take a car back to her home rather than allow them to contact her parents to pick her up. Wheelchaired out and towards the lobby where other patients waited to be driven home. Combing mindlessly through her surroundings and finding nothing of interest, she rested against the seat she occupied and simply waited until a familiar hand landed on her head. Eyes snapping open, she stared at her blonde friend and allowed her lips to twitch a little in greeting. Oi, thought you could get rid of me that easily? Naruto questioned, beaming cheerily at her and taking a seat beside the fully recovered girl. I am glad you're here. Shiki began, feeling annoyed at the bemused grin firmly set on Naruto's features. Coughing and thinking over her words carefully, she turned away at Naruto's suggestive wink and schooled herself. Thank you for everything, Naruto. Shi-chan. Naruto shouted, enveloping the surprised girl into a big hug. I am so happy. Put me down, idiot. They continued to banter until the shuttle arrived. With other passengers leaving to find a seat on the empty bus, Shiki found herself hesitant to board. Though she would never in a million years admit it, She rather enjoyed the blonde devil's company. His harmless flirting and hyperactive behavior made her smile, something she had not done in a while. Trying her best to express her emotions, she felt an odd piece of paper forcefully slipped into her hands. The paper was white in color, containing an intricate seal etched in black ink. This is a summoning request. All devils hand these out to humans in case they want to make a contract with us. If you ever just want to talk, well, use this. Naruto explained, motioning over to the seal. It's a one-time use only, but it'll bring more if you're not sick of me by then. Thank you, she muttered, giving the blonde a quick squeeze before taking her place inside the bus. Giving Naruto one final wave of goodbye, Shiki gingerly held onto the summoning request he had given her and allowed a tender grin to form. Flashback end deep in the well-decorated dining of Bael Castle. Lord Bael and his heir were going through the motions of their usual conversations. Conversations would be loosely used in this term, however. No matter what topic was being discussed, both Naruto and his father had differing opinions. Since Lord Bael's long, overly egotistical speech about how demonic power determined everything, being the most powerful of his 3 children, Lord Bael wholeheartedly agreed with his predecessor when Zekrom suggested naming Naruto heir. It was that decision that Lord Bael regretted ever since he had announced Naruto's title. At first he assumed Naruto's behavior was merely a rebellious stage, but Naruto did not let up. No matter how much he wanted Naruto out of the position of heir, he could not do a single thing. Naruto had Zekrom in his corner, and one thing Lord Bael came to understand in his relatively short reign as clan head was that opposing the first Bael would not end well for him or anyone for that matter. Though Naruto held the sheer potential to become greater than Sirzex himself, his attitude towards the Bael's beliefs were infuriating. Lord Bael learned early on that Naruto could not be controlled, unlike his youngest son, Magdaran. He skipped meetings the heir was supposed to attend. He refused to show proper respect to the elders and outright ignored orders directing from Lord Bael himself. Having pondered Naruto's opposing sentiments for a large portion of the year, Lord Bael came to one conclusion: Naruto needed to be forced out of his title. With his rebellious son gone, he would promote Magdaran to the position and hopefully keep his youngest in line. Magdaran was easily controllable in comparison to his brothers. Even Zekrom's influence would not stop his golden boy's demotion, no matter how hard he would try. If his plan succeeded, Naruto would be married off to either the Agaras or Visago clan, and Cyroorg betrothed to the other. Their arranged marriages would secure the Bael clan's influence for decades to come, paving the way for Magdaran to take control, for him to outclass Zekrom in influence. And how goes your training? Lord Bael inquired, his dark brows raised in faint interest. Granted, he wanted Naruto out as his heir. My what? Naruto mumbled aloud. Scowling at him, Lord Bael tightened his grip on his utensils. Your training with Lord Zekrom, how is it progressing? I haven't been attending. I just spent all week with Cyroorg. Ya know, when I become Lord Bael, I am going to get rid of that shitty rule you are so high on. Slamming his fist on the table and rising in fury, Lord Bael glowered at his disobedient son. Demonic power flaring. You dare bring that abomination back into my halls? Chuckling at his father's flared ability, Naruto decided to humor him, flashing his own power in turn. Neither father nor son let up, and their staring contest only ended when a servant meekly entered the dining room announcing Zekrom's appearance. Taking his leave, Naruto gave his supposed father one more glare before leaving to find Shiki. Glaring intently at his guest seated across from his desk, Lord Bael pushed the envelope towards him, motioning for him to open it. Doing as he was told, the blonde gentleman smiled pleasantly and broke the seal and read through the letter, his eyes widening in each sentence. As he continued to read through it, Lord Bael took control of the conversation. Do you agree on these terms, Badiz? Once you humiliate my son, then I will personally help initiate your clan into the 72 pillars. Thinking over the offer, Badiz found little fault with his offer, but what confused him was why exactly did the great king want his middle child out of the picture? I would be honored to do so, Lord Bael, but why do you want Lord Naruto defeated in such a fashion? He is keen on brushing elbows with the lower classes. I fear once he takes over as clan head, he will abolish our traditions and allow the filthy low-class filth have their way. What say you? HMPH, I am in agreement. Good. Challenge him to a rating game. Though killing is frowned upon, it is an unfortunate part of the game. Smirking in acceptance, Badiz stood and shook hands with Lord Bael and took his leave. Once he was sure no one was around, Lord Bael allowed a single crude smile to twist onto his scowling face. Soon, his child would know just what happened to fools that dared oppose him. Be it death or sheer mortification by defeat, Badiz Abaddon stood as the third highest ranked champion of the rating games, second only to Roygun Belphegor and of course Dehauser Belial. They were monsters in their own right, wielding Satan-level demonic power and held considerable influence in raiding games. If one were to be killed against them, no one would bat an eyelash, even if it were the Bael clan's heir. Perhaps some curious rambling, but no one would question their dominating victory. 2 days later, there were few things in the world that could get under Sikaveria Agara's skin. The princess of the Agara's clan held an immeasurable calm to her that many would kill for. However, even Buddha's patience had its limits. The one eroding away her longtime collectiveness was none other than the scion of the Bael clan himself. Bothersome and overly flirty in nature, he would constantly embarrass her knowingly when it came to her secret obsession. Since he found out during one of their many playdates as children, he never let up on teasing her about. Nay, Mecha-chan, what do you think about the coffee here? Naruto questioned, his teasing smile widening at her obvious hate for her nickname. They were currently seated together in a small table on an outside terrace overlooking the Agara's, one of the many cities inside of the Agara's territory and one of the most popular vacation spots in the entire underworld. Since their conception into the world of nobility, their lives had been entirely mapped out. With an alliance in mind, both lords of the Bael and Agara's house were keen on allowing their children to spend time with one another in hopes of sparking a potential romance and an alliance to boot. After all, if the great king and the archduke were to align, no one in the underworld would ever come close to their political power. It's good, Naruto, would you please stop calling me that? Sikaveria pleaded, her normally calculating pink eyes cast downwards in embarrassment. Fine, what do you want me to call you then, Mecha-chan? Naruto mused, smiling at her pondering expression. You know, if I called you princess, I wouldn't be able to contain myself, ya know? You're just so beautiful, Sikaveria. I'll just lose control, have ravish you on this table. Denied. Oh. How about I order you off the menu then, Denied. Okay, I'll just show you my cockpit then. Watching Sikaveria turn into a new shade of red, Naruto marveled at her new tint and chuckled aloud. After calming down and giving Naruto a stern talking to, Sikaveria returned to her usual collected mood and began scanning through the offered drink menu herself. Why she tolerated Naruto to such an extent was beyond her, but some small part of her did find his over-the-top comments amusing when they were directed at Sona maybe and not her. But knowing Naruto, he would probably flirt with a damn rock if given the opportunity. Oi, Mecha-chan, what do you think about the entire mess with Kokabiel? Naruto suddenly asked, his expression lessening to a more serious one. Other than Sona, Sikaveria's logic-based deductions were highly valued by him. It was like having a better-looking Shikamaru. He could tease all day about her love of any and all mechas. Not a good question all around, but it is an opportunity to get past our current ceasefire and hopefully stop the constant skirmishes from happening. Sikaveria answered, pushing up her glasses at Naruto's impressed look. She took great pride in her intelligence, and seeing her oldest friend's unbridled approval meant quite a bit to her. Are the Satans asking you to attend in order to share your own experiences with the other faction leaders? Nodding, Naruto thanked the server who had came bearing drinks and stirred his coffee and thought, yup, they want me and the others to attend and recount details of our stupid fight with Kokashit. Just make sure you don't start another war with that mouth of yours. Grinning at her words, Naruto leaned close, impishly meeting her eyes. How about you subdue my mouth so it won't start any trouble? Denied. Deep inside the unpopulated forests of Romania stood a large ominous castle. The medieval-styled fortress was home to the magician organization. Grauzauberer, being one of the world's most famous organizations, magicians from every corner of the globe flocked to its gates hoping to gain entry into its selective halls. Mephistopheles is the organization's acting chairman. Over hundreds of years of existence, it published research of all forms of magic, one of the many reasons Grauzauberer was considered one if not the most influential magic organization in the magical world. Inside its dormitories where researchers and students lived, a young woman scowled menacingly at her sweater, trying her best to push her head through the defiant hole. She cursed aloud and with a loud huff yanked it down, forcing her head through. Collapsing on her bed in an annoyed groan, she took to her mirror and reached for her brush, doing her best to keep her long wavy, black hair from tangling like the other day. Sighing a little, she finished off her hair and readjusted the pair of black tights worn below. Grabbing a skirt from her dresser and pulling it up to her waist, she studied herself, trying to find any imperfections in her appearance, and nodded in acceptance. Reaching for her red jacket hanging on her desk chair, she looked at the symbol etched on the dorsal of her hand. It was a large purple flower sprawled around an intricate magic circle. Grinning a little at the marking, she tenderly held it for a moment as she hanged her coat on her other arm. Many people were curious about it when she had first arrived in the castle. She understood their interest. After all, not many people had the Bael clan's symbol tattooed on their hand for any reason. Before she could think over the strange reactions sent her way in her first year, she was interrupted by a loud series of knocks ringing from her door. Rin. Are you ready? The chairman is arriving soon, we're going to have to meet him when he does, an urgent voice called out. Yeah. I am coming out right now. Giving her appearance another quick one over, Rin strolled to the door and swung it open, smiling to her friend in greeting. Slamming the door labeled, Tasaka, shut, Rin followed her fellow researcher down the halls and towards their intended destination. Bael territory. Groaning loudly, Kamui lifted his dead body to his soft bed and just laid there, unable to move a single muscle. Since his first training session with Sun Wukong, he had been pelted with fireballs and thrown off the mountain more times than he could remember. Even Naruto helped out when he returned from his luncheon with Seikvaria. With Sun Wukong observing from the side, he and Naruto sparred all afternoon while he was being dragged down by an egregious amount of weights. Trying to stop a motivated Naruto did not bode well for anyone, much less a handicapped Kamui who could only block, but stopping Naruto's attacks were purely torture. He hit like a damn truck, and constantly being beaten down by him was not fun at all. Master, you're a sadist, Kamui moaned, his blue eyes staring intently at Naruto's cheerily smile. Naruto's unreal strength was the reason why he agreed to become Naruto's rook in the first place. Fighting him outright had been one of Kamui's most embarrassing defeats. To be tossed aside like a child motivated him to grow stronger and want to one day match Naruto in strength or outclass him entirely. I can't feel anything. Hey. Sorry Kamui, I overdid it, but it's for your own good, Naruto replied, giving Kamui a hearty slap on the back only to hear a soft whimper escape his rook. I promised you I would be your guy, sensei, didn't I? I still have no idea what that means. Laughing loudly and throwing his arms back and resting his head on his hands, Naruto smiling and gave Kamui a second slap. I'll tell you someday. You two seem to be in high spirits, Shiki commented, entering with a platter of food. I brought dinner. Jumping out of his dazed state at the mention of food, Kamui happily helped himself to the platter without even bothering to share it with the others. Naruto only laughed in response while Shiki sighed and massaged her temples at his behavior. Leave it to Naruto to approve of Kamui's mannerless actions. They chatted randomly, waiting for Kamui to finish his large meal, who only stopped stuffing his face when he needed to come up for air, then resumed without a care in the world. When will we go to Ko, master? Kamui asked in between bites of some rice, his vermilion eyes curiously laid out on Naruto, who merely shrugged his shoulders. You don't know, or you just don't care. Was all Naruto said, much to Shiki's apparent disapproval. Giving Naruto a steady frown, Shiki simply held it until she spotted her king squirm under her steadfast look. Mentally smiling in pleasure, she crossed her arms, pondering their current situation. As of right now, they were supposed to attend the peace summit between the three biblical factions, which would begin in a matter of 5 days, which left them to their own devices until their eyewitness accounts would be needed. Her thoughts were swiftly scattered when Naruto peered close, approaching until their faces were too close for Shiki's own comfort. Shi-chan. I can't stand you being mad at me, so as your king the first will make you feel good, Naruto declared, his blue eyes glimmering at the sight of her apparent discomfort. Now just stay still and let. Eyes flashing into an ethereal blue and pupils glistening into a kaleidoscope of color, Shiki allowed a large glare to set onto her features. Master, do choose your next words carefully. I wouldn't want an accident to occur now. No need to be so serious, Shi-chan, I am joking, Naruto replied, clearly nervous over her sudden shift in attitudes. No matter how many times he witnessed the mystic eyes, he could never get used to the strange sensation they seemed to emit. It was exactly like the stupid sharing again. Completely broken ocular powers that were seemingly created to simply frustrate him to no end. Good, was all Shiki said when she deactivated her eyes and turned to the now vigor-filled Kamui. Signs of unpleasant eating habits littered his normally pleasant-looking bed. Tarnished were his silky white sheets, large blobs of juices splattered across his pillows, making his resting quarters look more like a murder scene. Kamui, how many times do I have to tell you to not eat on the bed, Big sis, it was an accident, tell her, master. Kamui pleaded, blue eyes bulging with fear. Naruto wisely chose to turn away, finding the floor very interesting now of all times. Kamui. Lowering his head in submission, Kamui apologized profusely for his mistake and proceeded to make an entire show of his words, hoping to soothe things over. After a long speech about proper manners by Shiki, Kamui, hoping to get back into her good graces, disposed of the mess and left to find the servants in order to find replacements for his ruined bed. Watching the entire scene play out from his corner of the room, an obviously bemused Naruto strolled over to Shiki, ready to pester her. You'll be a good mother one day, Shi-chan, Naruto mused. Really? Nodding at her, he tried his best to hide the mischief now building in his grin. Coughing a little, he leaned close and whispered just loud enough for her to hear, yup, to our children. Not giving her a chance to respond, Naruto bolted away, hoping to escape her wrath. Shiki did not give chase, rather she sat still, her one hand on her chest, another on her lap. She stared at Naruto's fleeing form. Our children, huh? The next day, lazying on top of a small hill overlooking Kamui's training. Naruto laid on the soft grass, staring thoughtfully at the blue sky. The day was progressing like any normal day. His father had scoured all of the castle for him, but he remained hidden away, deep into the mountains overlooking Bael Castle. Kamui and Sun Wukong were attempting to further train his body while Shiki offered to help here and there. Naruto merely chose to stay away from his drinking buddy and servants, his mind entirely on another topic. Taking in a deep breath of air, he shielded his eyes from the bright light and allowed the flow of memories to continually assault his mind. Names and places so vividly detailed flashed together in a series of jumbled feelings he could not describe. It was similar to taking a roller coaster ride, but rather than enjoy the physical excitement, his mind tumbled onwards from one memory to the next in a hazy recollection of thoughts and people he barely recognized. Since his birth he remembered names. Some, like Rock Lee, would have graphic images to go with them, others did not. He had no control over his haunting thoughts. At times none would return, and on occasions like this, his brain felt the tremors of recollection that would throw him into a series of events. Nothing felt real when his mind wandered. Reality twisted with his mind, forming a fog shielding his senses from anything happening outside of his psyche. He felt every Rasengan his shadow clones would help form. He felt each single Rasengan tear through an enemy's muscles and bone. He felt every life he took. With each memory of pain came one of happiness and joy. As he was pushed from one emotion to the next, he felt sick with apprehension, while he internally suffered. A single question rang in his mind. Just who the hell was he? Naruto Uzumaki or Naruto Bael? Master, are you sleeping again? Came Shiki's worrisome voice. Eyes fluttering open, Naruto blinked at her sudden appearance, his mind just now settling from the hellish experience he had come to accept as commonplace. Instinctively pulling his knight into an embrace, Naruto felt Shiki recoil at the sudden choice of contact but did not struggle. She was too surprised to ask about his action. Enveloped in his arms for what seemed like an eternity, Shiki wanted to open her mouth and voice her concerns. She felt his previously erratic breathing subside and a normal one took its place. Filing away her king's odd behavior for another time, she remained in his vicinity, refusing to let him be alone. He had helped her before and she would willingly stay there for the end of time if it meant helping her dear friend. Shiki, aren't you supposed to smack away my affections now? Naruto whispered against her shoulder, his warm breath brushing against the thin kimono. Not until you tell me what's wrong, Naruto. Shiki responded, her tone filled with hints of concern and a certain edge to it. She refrained from using Naruto's name like this when she had been reincarnated, but now of all times calling him master seemed out of place. Chuckling softly, Naruto's hollow blue eyes lingered on the small pattern printed on her shoulder. I am fine, Shiki. I am just tired, nothing to worry about, it'll be fine. Feeling her arms tighten around his body, Naruto blinked away his fears and gave her some soothing rubs on the back. Don't worry, Shiki. Everything's alright now, thank you. Pulling away and giving him a once-over, Shiki kept her grip on his shoulders, refusing to let go until Naruto gave her an reassuring grin. Sighing in defeat, she returned her arms to her sides and nodded, though unwilling to leave him alone. For the rest of the day they sat in a comfortable silence, enjoying one another's company, allowing the day to drag on and remaining steadfast in their pursuit of solitude. Kamui soon finished up his usual training and found the two staring off into the sunset, unaware of his arrival. Master, are you two done staring into each other's eyes? I am hungry, Kamui said, throwing an arm around Naruto's shoulder and sharing a smile with his king. Practically dragging Naruto to his feet, he and Shiki both flanked his sides as they prepared to find some sustenance for their hungry bodies. I am thinking about more of Big Sis porridge from last night and plenty of meat. Oh, so much meat. Nighttime with servants and lords all resting in their chambers. Naruto stayed up, his headache from earlier today still clearly on his mind. Plopped on an intricate chair and attempting to piece every one of his newly acquired memories together into a more digestible bundle, his late-night pondering was interrupted by the small phonograph located on his desk. Though it appeared like any plain thing, it was an interesting piece of magic. Rather, this phonograph had no turntable or a stylus, but an exceptionally beautiful green gem sat at its center, connected by a single metal wire. Naruto, can you hear me? A soft voice asked from the horn. Smiling to himself and enjoying the company, Naruto leaned close to his device and whispered, Nay, Rin, what are you doing up so late? Shouldn't you be getting ready for some of your research tomorrow? Is my favorite devil unhappy to see me? I am hurt, Naruto. I thought we had a connection, the teasing voice of one Rin Tasaka responded. We do. That's why I would love it if you were here with me, in bed, enjoying each other all night long. Hearing a loud crash followed by panicked gasping, Naruto chuckled at the commotion, making sure not to stay quiet enough to stop Rin from hearing. The connection stayed silent for uncounted minutes, and Rin, after cleaning up her unintentional mess, groaned at Naruto. Naruto, you made me drop the jewel I was storing some magic into. You're paying for a new one. Don't I already pay for all of your jewels? That's not the point. This one was special to me and you just ruined it by saying those stupid things. Fine, fine, Rin, I'll buy you as many as you want. Triumphantly laughing, Rin quickly schooled herself and responded in kind. Well said, Naruto, spoken like a true gentleman. I've missed you, Rin, off on an entirely different section of the world. Rin sat in her bedroom, flushed at the recent statement. Unlike her conversations with Naruto face to face, she showed her actual embarrassment. Normally she would have attempted to blast him away with Gander or simply stormed off. But here she actually smiled at his comments, pleased to have heard it from her longtime friend. Resting her face on the palms of her hands, she considered how he would have changed from years of little to none physical contact. Since her acceptance into Grauzauber, she stayed in touch with him through her magically built magical energy conductor. It was an odd system that relied on jewels to connect speakers to one another. She all but forced Naruto to learn how to use it rather than using modern telephones. She hated to admit it, but she was technologically challenged, and when faced with the task of utilizing the modern contraptions, she felt at a loss. Thinking about an accident back in Fuyuki City where Naruto purchased her a mobile device for her birthday, she ended up, somehow, blowing the portable phone into smithereens. She had been holding it up to her ear in an attempt to call Naruto from a separate room, and when he saw her soot-coated face, he laughed until she was ready to murder him. Subsequently, he found another way of teasing her which she never lived down even till this day. You're an idiot. Naruto, saying that sort of things, Rin muttered softly, her dark hair shadowing her aqua-blue eyes, pulling her arms around her knees and staring longingly out the window into the Romanian nightline. How do you expect me to insult you when you're being such an emotional flap? Hearing a sigh on the other line followed up by another mirthful laugh, he would then respond, sorry then Rin, it's just nice talking to you again. Idiot. Rin murmured once more, though this time her lips twitched upwards into a smile, and you don't have to apologize, you know. I sort of miss you too. Silencing enveloped them until she heard Naruto attempting to stifle laughter in the background, eyes immediately narrowing and righteous anger seeping into her. Rin slammed her hands on her desk and shouted, I was being honest and you just laughed at me, asshole. Sudir-chan, no need to be so serious, take that back. Taking in a deep breath and pulling her communication device's horn in close, she roared, I said take that back, you orange idiot. Crossing her arms and puffed her chest out in anger, she flicked her call off and turned to her bed. Crawling onto it and turning off her lights, she threw her sheets over her head and tried to sleep, all while she dreamed of a certain blonde-haired idiot she treasured too much. The next day, glancing around Bael Castle and whistling at its size valley, Lucifer crossed his arms and allowed another smirk to adorn his handsome visage. Having gotten permission from Azazel to leave Grigori, he used the opportunity to seek out Naruto. Leaning against a tree overlooking some ornate water fountain, his eyes locked on Naruto's once he saw him leave with Kamui and an unknown girl. Greeting them with another smirk, he waited patiently for Naruto to make his way over. Whoa. Valley, you've come for that fight I promised you? Naruto questioned, throwing an arm around Valley much to the other devil's vexation. Pushing Naruto's arm back and nodding his head, Valley gave the blonde an unquenchable smile and spread his arms wide. Yes. Are you willing to show me the infamous power of destruction I have been hearing so much about? Yosh. Come on Valley, let's head somewhere private, following Naruto's group into a magic circle. Naruto and company arrived at the Dragon Mountains where Sun Wukong sat waiting for them to show up. Nodding his wrinkly countenance at Naruto, he turned to Valley, his eyes squinted behind the thick sunglasses he chose to wear. Motioning to the new arrival, he gave Naruto an annoyed motion of his hands. Brat. I told you to not bring any more people here. I ain't running a damn charity case. Indra's gonna figure out I am training more shitbag of yours. No need to worry, old man. Valley and I are just gonna have a friendly spar, Naruto said, soothing over Sun Wukong's ire. But wahahaha. You're too young to be fightin' Naruto here, White Dragon Emperor, Sun Wukong announced, holding his hand out to stop Valley from protesting, and he turned to Kamui and Shiki. Come on Shitstain, you can learn a thing or two from your master, you too, creepy girl. With any distractions off the field and only Naruto and Valley left, Valley took to the air as his Longinus came to life. Divine Dividing's wings sprouted at his back and he levitated some distance above Naruto, smirking and allowing Albion's power to encase his entire body. Valley brought out Balance Breaker and motioned for Naruto to prepare. Aren't you going to use the power of destruction? Nope, not yet. Naruto answered back as a strange white aura formed around his body. Tuki should be more than enough. Shooting down at Naruto like a bullet out of a gun, Valley brought cocked back his fist, fully intending on knocking Naruto backwards. His rather speedy approach was all for naught. His outstretched fist was effortlessly caught by a Tuki-enhanced fist. Smirking at Valley, Naruto added more and more pressure to his vice grip until cracks in Valley's scale mail began becoming more and more obvious. Not giving his opponent an opportunity to try and escape, Naruto pulled him in close and decked him point blank. Pain. Absolute pain was all Valley felt when his entire body recoiled in shock from Naruto's punch. His armor shattered upon contact, leaving Valley exposed, a fact that he would have never expected this early on in a fight. Wiping a thin line of blood from his mouth and laughing at Naruto's splendid counter, he dove into his scale mail form. Raising his fist and smirking behind his helmet, he gave Naruto one final look and activated Divine Dividing's signature ability. Unlike the boosted gear which doubled its user's power, Divine Dividing halved his enemy's power and gave it to him instead. Divide. Oh, so that's what your pretty armor does. Nice move, Valley. Naruto praised, giving him Guy's signature smile and thumbs up. You seem rather happy for someone who just had their power taken away, Valley goaded. Shaking his head at Valley and sighing at his arrogance, Naruto released more power into form of Tuki, further enhancing the white aura. I am not like Kokobashit and other cannon fodder you enjoy beating down, Valley. So it seems. Valley prepared to launch orbs of explosive magic at Naruto's unmoving state and gasped in unimaginable pain when his entire body shook. Naruto, having disappeared from the ground and appearing above Valley, leg drawn high for Tsunade's signature move, the heavenly foot of pain. He slammed it against his unsuspecting opponent and left him crashing to the ground, forming a massive crater in his wake, leaving Valley armorless and bleeding once more. Though that sort of thing would have put any normal person down, devil or human alike. Valley only seemed more motivated to fight back. Charging at Naruto and launching a series of fast-paced punches, Valley tried his best to land a blow, but Naruto, being the more experienced fighter, either dodged or parried them all. Faking another attempt at kicking Naruto, Valley switched his move swiftly and punched Naruto square on the jaw. Not even given a moment to feel good about finally dealing a punch to his enemy, Valley cursed Naruto as he felt his entire body being pinned down by him. Pulling his head back, Naruto crashed it at Valley's helmet, shattering it and forcing the battle-hungry dragon and the amused Bael to meet face to face. Naruto, readying for another attack, felt his reserves dip again as Valley happily drained him of his magic. Gripping Valley's arm and throwing him away, Naruto's enthusiastic mood now died down. He just really wanted to kick the little shit's ass right about now. Rather than further enhancing his Tuki aura, Naruto vanquished it altogether and allowed demonic red magic to flare around his entire body. Similar to how Kurama's chakra licked his body in orange, his power of destruction did the same. Well, it did not give him any special physical enhancements, unlike Tuki, which revolved around physical superiority. Yes. This is it, Naruto. This is what I have been waiting so long to experience. Show it to me. Valley howled, charging straight at Naruto, dividing his power as he went. Taking note of Valley's approach, Naruto summoned more demonic power and soon an oversized orb of it formed in front of him. Raising a palm and launching it at his armored opponent, he noticed Valley attempting to pull away and dodge, but it was never intended to hit him. No. Clapping both hands together and channeling more of his power, Naruto watched as it detonated with Valley in its blast radius, expanding to the size of some small mountain. The orb shark, just as it grew, and the explosion that followed rocked the surrounding mountains and hills, even managing to unroot some trees in the process. This pain. Yes. Valley roared, flying through the large shroud of smoke, his maniacal laughter filling the air. Floating some distance from Naruto, he gave his newly christened rival another smirk and formed his scale mail. Rather than prepare another attack, white orbs unleashed themselves from his armor, wails of displeasure seemingly emulating from their arrival. You've managed to push me back so far, Naruto. If my fight with the red one is anything like this, I am going to enjoy every second of it. Oi. Valley, no need to go all nut job on me. What the hell are you doing anyway? Cackling in glee, Valley pointed a finger at Naruto and replied, I am glad you asked, rival. This is Juggernaut Drive that only the Divine Dividing and boosted gear can obtain. It is forbidden because once activated, the Heavenly Dragon's full power is unleashed at the user's expense. When the seals are broken and the Heavenly Dragons are released, the users lose their minds to insanity and their bodies will be devoured by sheer power alone. Blinking at Valley's speech, Naruto held up a finger and gave him an incredulous look. Are you stupid? What? Valley gasped out, confusion obvious in his tone. Are you stupid, Valley? No. Then why the hell are you so damn suicidal? If you're just going to go all villainy and try and kill yourself just to win in a spar, then you really are stupid. But approaching him and giving Valley a good smack on the head, Naruto wagged a finger up and scowled at him. That is beyond stupid, Valley. I mean, come on, what sort of idiot would knowingly release this kind of power just for the hell of it? You master. Kamui shouted from a distance. Shut up, Kamui. Rubbing his head awkwardly at Naruto's logic, Valley thought over his actions and realized that probably wasn't the best idea. Now that it was handled, Valley looked up to face Naruto, but he already left the battlefield. Throwing his arms up in protest, Valley pointed his accusatory finger at Naruto and all but demanded, "Where the hell are you going? Naruto, our fight isn't finished. You ruined the mood, asshole. You just had to go all emo on me." Kuo was an interesting city, though nothing more than some off-handed suburban town in Japan. Escalating tensions were all revolved around it and the events which played out not even months apart. In some short time, Rias Grimori reincarnated this generation's to Red Dragon Emperor and also an excommunicated nun. More recently, Kokobile, with the help of Valpierre Galilei and Fried Selzen, attempted to slaughter Kuo's governing devils, hoping to start another great war. With a combined effort from devils, angels, and fallens alike, the cadre was brought down and imprisoned deep in the chilling depths of Cocytus. Now, leaders of every biblical faction gathered for a peace summit that would address their growing tensions, hopefully quelling them prior to another disastrous confrontation like Kokobile's attempted war. A gathering of so many hostile factions was risky, very risky to be precise. An offhanded comment taken the wrong way, or a disgruntled soldier committed to revenge, or any possibility of offending any of the gathered dignitaries could lead to another long, brutal war. All in all, Naruto was more than happy to avoid being locked in a room full of politicians and bureaucrats. They weren't exactly his favorite people in the world. They just talked on and on about topics that could easily be solved by a good fight. "Oh, and we have to try some dango," Naruto said, dragging Kamui and Shiki along to help him clear out every restaurant's supply of ramen and dango. Just thinking about those savory dishes made him drool in anticipation. "Kamui, we're going to have a competition to see who can eat the most dishes." "Yosh, master." Kamui agreed wholeheartedly. Food and competition were some of his favorite things, and combining them into an eating contest only fired him up even more. "Do we have time for this?" Shiki asked, her brows furrowed at Naruto's laissez-faire response to their current situation. Sharing a vigorous nod, Naruto and Kamui both threw their arms around each other and proceeded to animatedly talk about what sort of food they would encounter, ignoring Shiki's disapproval. Though she wanted to say something, Naruto threw an arm around her and dragged her forward, much to her own protests. They continued down the path for another few minutes until Shiki gave up on her struggles and accepted her fate for now. Their journey ended when the Bael peerage gathered along a small shop snuggled along Kuo's shopping district. An hour or so later, Naruto and Kamui strolled out holding their stomachs in content. Shiki followed a step behind, her own enjoyment hidden behind another blank expression. The trio continued spend their time along Kuo's offered attractions until Shiki all but demanded them to return to Kuo Academy. Their walk back, however, contained an unexpected surprise. Standing in the distance with his usual arrogant smirk, Valley raised his hand in greeting. "Naruto," Valley said, unfurling his crossed arms, and fell into step with the blonde. "Yo, Valley, what are you doing here?" Naruto asked, staring into the distant horizon. Valley merely pointed a finger to the large imposing dome that was being erected around Ko Academy. "I am here acting as Azazel's bodyguard, and I decided to find you in order to talk about our last fight. You ended prematurely." Snorting at his remarks, Naruto gave Valley a good smack on the head. "Bullshit, the only reason you came here is to whine about not being able to fight the pervert. He's not very impressive for my supposed destined rival. Don't get arrogant now. Valley, he might seem worthless, but he might just surprise you," Naruto advised, mind lingering on his past for a moment before he gave Valley a friendly slap on the back. "Now, Mr. Tsunere, are you coming to the school with us or what?" Eyes flaring with an unimaginable anger, Valley snapped his head at Naruto's sacred gear now fully out. "I am not a Tsunere." Right, whatever you say. Why do I put up with you? I don't know, you've been following me around since our little fight, like a lost dog. Wait, could it be you're in love?" Grabbing hold of Naruto's bright orange shirt and pulling him close, Valley hissed, "Don't finish that sentence." "Oh, how cruel this world is," Naruto cried, dramatically clutching his heart as he gave Valley a stare much to the letter's growing trepidation. Taking hold of Valley's shoulders, Naruto gave his fellow devil an overly serious expression and sighed. "I am sorry, Valley, if Shiki were not here I would accept your confession wholeheartedly." "I hate you," was all Valley said as he proceeded to think about every imaginable way of causing Naruto pain. Kuo Academy. Azazel nodded half-heartedly at the report Rias Gremory and Sona Citri recounted until the two finished and allowed the gathered leaders to speak. Like any meeting between opposing factions, for Kokebiel's actions he had been put on the hot seat. Both heaven and the underworld wanted reparations for the issues his cadre caused. Though he found the situation both boring and largely tiresome, he held his tongue and kept a cooperative smile at hand, awaiting the proper time to speak his mind. Yes, Kokebiel did act on his own, and I sent Valley here to take care of him. Azazel answered the question Sirzex asked not too long ago. Like he mentioned during their off-the-books conversations, he only repeated himself out of formality. Their secretive communications allowed him to gauge just what Sirzex and Serafal were planning, allowing proper time to prepare. What about Kokebiel's pet exorcist? What's his punishment? Smiling gently at the mention of Valpyr Galeli, Michael the Archangel and current leader of the Angels allowed a wave of disappointment seep through his voice as he spoke. Due to his actions of aiding Kokebiel and previous reasons for excommunication, we decided execution would be necessary and proceeded with it. You executing one of your pet priests? How ironic, Azazel snorted, taking a large gulp of his whiskey. He committed heinous crimes against our respective factions, and it is the only form of punishment you two would agree on. Michael replied, not unkindly, his gentle blue eyes cast downwards at the mention of taking any life, much less one of his own faction. Off in the corner of his peripherals, Sirzex and Serafal both nodded in approval, keen on finally ridding themselves of the man who caused their siblings so much trouble. Now that the instigators are taken care of, how about we discuss their impact on our ceasefire? Some of the 72 pillars have been calling for war. Sirzex began, his grim expression shifting from leader to leader until he proceeded once again. They have been gathering support and have more or less began preparing for war. We Satans can veto their ruling, but only for so long. If the more vocal clans manage to get the support of the Baal clan, then war is inevitable. Sirzek's mention of the Baal clan had every pair of eyes turned from them to Naruto and his peerage. The Baal clan's influence stemmed from their untouchable position as Great King. Having amassed alliances with every member of the surviving 72 pillars of the underworld, they were undoubtedly an X-factor in this situation. Though vastly authoritative, the Baals remained neutral on most matters regarding the underworld, allowing the Satans to take command. But when it came to war, Zekrom Baal's descendants were more than happy to start one if they felt their images had been stained. Blinking at the attention directed his way, Naruto scratched his cheek and asked, "Is there something on my face?" Cackling merrily at Naruto's blatant disregard of the situation, Azazel crossed his arms and smirked Naruto's way. "I like this kid." "Master," Shiki said, her voice low and demanding. "Oh," Naruto muttered in realization before he coughed and nodded to Sirzex and Serafal. War isn't fun." "Alright," Sirzex replied, regaining control of their discussion, though he sounded rather put off by Naruto's disinterested response. "Now that the representative of the Baal clan has spoken, how about we hear from the two hosts of the Heavenly Dragons?" "I just want to fight strong opponents," Valley offered from his spot behind Azazel, his sharp gaze landing on Naruto. Nodding at Valley's predictable words, Azazel turned to Issei. "You can fight strong opponents even in times of peace. Now, what say you, Red Dragon Emperor?" "I want peace," Issei shouted back. "Well, there you have it. Even the Heavenly Dragons want peace," Azazel announced, arms spread out in a peaceful gesture, his usual grin in place. "How about we sign that treaty and call it a day?" Shock rang out among the younger generation of attendees, though neither Valley or Naruto seemed surprised that they didn't care. Knowing them, it was most likely the latter. Whispers from both Gremory and Citri peerages filled the silence until Serafal calmed them down with a quick glance their way. "Yes. As purposed, we will sign a treaty and officially end our long-standing ceasefire. As long as those terms are met, Heaven is happy to sign," Michael added. "Looks like we're in agreement," Azazel mused. Before another word could be uttered, a wave of magical energies swept through the entire city, halting everything in its vicinity. Faction leaders were unaffected, like the resident sacred gears holders and others who were strong enough to resist the time-altering magic. No one looked happy about the development, and Rias, upon realization her Bishop Gasper had been the cause of their situation, cursed. Gasper's sacred gear, forbidden below view, was uncontrollable by him, and it would eventually lead to a situation that was currently unfolding. "Bucko, is Gasper doing this?" Issei questioned, his boosted gear fully formed on his arm. Pursing her lips and nodding, Rias turned to the leaders and bowed her head in an apologetic manner. "I am sorry, but it looks like my bishop has lost control of his sacred gear, and is allowing magicians the opportunity to teleport our forces away," Azazel said, pointing to the large group of robe-wearing magic users blasting their guards and sending them to who knows where. Quite a good little plan they cooked up. Their sudden attack left the leaders at a bypass. None of them could act out, and all they really could do was offer advice and stand by as their guards handled the inconvenience. Taking command of their situation, Circex with Azazel's help sent Rias and Issei off to stop Gasper and help him regain control of his sacred gear, while Valley and the others would help defeat their attackers. In the heat of the moment, Naruto, though able to move, remained absolutely still, hoping to avoid having to do anything, but Seraphol caught on to his plan rather quickly. Smacking his arm and giving him a look full of disappointment, she continued like this until Naruto cracked. Okay. Fine, I'll go kill some stupid magicians. Good. Make sure you keep Sotan safe. Seraphol called back to Naruto, who chose wisely not to respond. Naruto learned two things when he had first met Shiki. She was very fast and equally talented with a sword. Since her reincarnation into a devil, her inhuman reflexes were heightened to frightening levels. Her swift, unique movements held beauty to them, though in a life and death situation her fluid strikes sheared through countless magicians foolish enough to attack her. She engaged her enemies in a dance of death, softly dodging and slashing at any who entered her range. To Naruto, her sword style and complementary reflexes were beautiful, though deadly and scarily efficient. Shiki's style, like the countless times Naruto seen his fight, enamored him. Standing some distance away, Kamui fought like he usually did, brutal and unforgiving. He punched and kicked his enemies left and right, leaving them in a mess of blood and muscle. Each time he struck the magicians, his attacks went right through their bodies, leaving gaping holes in his wake. His opponents were magically inclined, which meant their physical bodies were weak and could be easily damaged. His monstrous strength, combined with the capacities of Rook and training from Naruto and Sun Wukong respectively, made Kamui Eve more deadly, and fighting the cannon fodder in front of him was more or less a chore. Watching them fight off the opposing forces with an almost keen fascination. Naruto studied his peerage, offhandedly blasting any magician who got too close to his personal space, while Valley and the other young devils were busy handling their own chunk of enemies. Naruto chose to more or less watch and observe rather than join the fray. Whether his lack of participation stemmed from laziness or not, he simply sat on a large tree branch incinerating magicians with his power of destruction when they annoyed him enough. The battle more or less raged on, and the clear difference in power began more and more noticeable. With their backs to the wall, the defending forces were cutting down enemies left and right, thinning out their numbers until the magicians began panicking at their easily killed comrades. Some time passed and Rias and her pawn successfully stopped Gasper, and time flow returned to normal. Things looked like it was turning around until the leader of the insurgents decided to make herself known. Kateria Leviathan, a descendant of the original Leviathan, began her long and extremely boring monologue, something Naruto zoned out in large chunks. Does she ever shut up? Naruto growled, now fully awake from her speech. Kamui, who had finished off another enemy, shrugged his shoulders and kneeled on the branch Naruto occupied. Even Shiki, who was the more composed member of their little group, found herself clearly unamused by Kateria and her villain spiel. Demonic power flaring around him, Naruto raised his hand and channeled an extensive amount of his power into a large spiraling orb and glared right at Kateria. Launching into the air and flying straight at her, he slammed his attack right at her exposed back, tearing through skin, muscle, and bone until half of her body had been vaporized. Just shut up already, I am trying to take a nap. You're so lazy, Na-chan, Seraphol observed, smiling regardless of her words. Good work, Naruto, though did you have to do it when we were speaking? Circex mused towards his cousin. We were just about to bring her in. Striking a fist onto his palm in another fit of realization, Naruto rubbed the back of his head and chuckled. Sorry, but she was just so boring. You were just full of surprises, aren't you, kid? Azazel questioned, slapping Naruto on the back, cackling at his laziness. But you should have waited though. I was about to ask her if she was affiliated with the Chaos Brigade. Wait, did you say Chaos Brigade? Yes, have you heard of it? Shaking his head, Naruto proceeded to side. No, that's just a very stupid name. Laughing once more, Azazel shook his head in marvel at the latest person that wasn't a sacred gear wielder to catch his eye. Filing Naruto Biel away for further reference, he turned to the others and discussed the current situation with them. There would be conversation, however, was interrupted when Valley came swooping in, fully cloaked in his armor, floating above the others and staring at Kateria's deformed body in surprise. He shook his head and shifted his eyes to Naruto, who had more or less fallen asleep sitting on a rock. Hey, I am surprised Kateria went down so easily, but it should be expected if you fought her, rival. Valley said, his words halting any side conversation and fully drawing attention to himself. But no matter, I won't be so easily defeated. You joined up with them too, huh, Valley? Azazel asked. Shrugging and turning to Issei, Valley replied, it's nothing personal, Azazel, but they just seemed more fun to side with. Valley, I thought you had better taste than to side with some to-bid organization that calls itself the Chaos Brigade. Seriously, what kind of stupid name is that? Naruto chastised, waving off Valis' indignant hey, and shook his head in disappointment like a parent would a child. It doesn't matter what you think, Naruto. I am here to challenge the Red One, Valley declared. Huffing at Valis' dismissal, Naruto turned to Shiki and sighed. He sounds like Sasuke. Who the hell is Sasuke? Valley snapped. I have no idea, Naruto answered, not missing a beat. Watching their little squabble from his position by Searsex and Michael, Azazel grinned in fascination. Naruto had completely disarmed Valley in a matter of seconds and had gotten him angrily arguing about an entirely different topic. He knew more or less about Valis would be betrayal. Like Kokabiel, who wished for war, Valley loved to fight, and if an era of peace were to be ushered in, his fights to the death would be less frequent. Even if he found Valis' behavior detrimental to his pursuit of a treaty, his inner researcher wanted to see the two heavenly dragons duke it out for science, of course. Get to the point, Valley. What do you want? Azazel asked, though he himself and a few others already knew what the white-haired Longinus wielder wanted. The question was simply a formality. A fight, of course, but not just against the Red One, and you, Naruto. Pass. I already kicked your ass, pointing an accusatory finger at Naruto. Valley quickly bit back. You just stopped me from using my Juggernaut drive. No, Valley, what you mean to say was that I kicked your ass and you wanted to be a baby and use your stupid juice drive. Juggernaut drive, not juice drive. Will you take this seriously? Grinning mischievously, Naruto adopted a thinking pose. You should rename it, though I don't think anyone's going to take you seriously if you call it the juice drive. Okay, that's it. Valley roared, charging straight at Naruto. Retracting his arm back and watching Valley crash to the ground in a thud. Naruto watched onwards as the White Dragon Emperor crawled out of the small crater. Blood seeping from an unusually large gash on his forehead and body decorated with purple bruises, Valley looked worse for wear. Having been victim to Naruto's monstrous strength had its lasting effects on him, and even though Valley loved fighting, he himself knew a losing battle when he saw one. Now, on the ground bloodied and battered, he scowled at his rival, hoping to buy some time until he needed to engage Naruto again. You really are strong. Hey, I can barely feel my legs after that punch. Valley observed, grunting at the sharp pain shooting through his body whenever he moved a muscle. Though utterly damaged from their scuffle, Valley reached into his coat pockets and pulled out a small glass bottle with the Phoenix clan's insignia etched in it. Inside, the bottle contained an unimaginable liquid that was commonly considered more valuable than gold itself. Phoenix tears, as they were called, were a powerful byproduct of the Phoenix clan's healing factor. Tears of a pure-blooded Phoenix were powerful enough to instantly heal any injuries, which were a reason for their ridiculous prices. But I prepared for you in advance, rival. Is that Phoenix clan bathwater? Naruto asked curiously, his blue eyes locked onto the small vial. Eyes bulging in response, Valley coughed violently on the Phoenix tears. He quickly regained control of himself and glared at Naruto. No. This is a freaking potion, not bathwater. I don't know, Valley, it looks like bathwater to me. Naruto mused, shrugging his shoulders and adopting a thinking pose. I never thought you would be the type to drink someone's bathwater, but hey, no judgment from me. This isn't bathwater. Charging at Naruto with his body now fully covered in his scale mail. Valley punched furiously at the blonde. Though his attacks were true and swift, none of them landed. His opponent dodged and blocked anything directed his way. Growling at his behavior, Valley channeled an impressive amount of magic around his body and continued to attack, hoping to keep Naruto close until his attack charged. Reaching an acceptable level, Valley struck Naruto's unsuspecting chest and knocked him a good distance away. Crossing his arms around the large blue gem at the center of his chest, Valley released a large beam of white magic at Naruto. Normally his attack would have killed any lesser enemies, but Naruto simply held up a hand shrouded in power of destruction, blocking his beam with relative ease. That stings, Valley, Naruto muttered, marveling at the results of Valley's attack. He blocked the beam, but his surrounding environment did not survive. Large portions of trees were completely vaporized, leaving only the trees situated behind him intact. Others that were unfortunately in contact with Valley's attack only left piles of dark soot in its place. The hand he used to block did indeed sting. The power of destruction took the blunt of Valley's charged attack, but his hand did not make it out unfazed. The skin on his palm was mostly shaven off, exposing tender muscle underneath. Trickles of blood seeped from his skinless palm. So you can be killed? Valley roared, flying at Naruto, a maniacal grin forming at the sight of Naruto's damaged hand. Spotting Valley's fast approaching form, Naruto clenched his hurt hand and formed a fist, waiting for Valley to close the distance separating them. Once Valley was in suitable range, he launched forward, colliding headfirst with him. Naruto's rather hard head smashed Valis' helmet into smithereens, allowing him to meet the eyes of his battle-hungry opponent. Naruto and Valley locked hands, were attempting to push each other with brute strength alone as their eyes remained glued to the others. Engaged in a battle of strength, neither seemed to relent as they continued to push and push with little development in sight. Taking his cue, Naruto covered himself in a cloak of demonic power, willing the power of destruction to further grow until Valley too had been covered in its crimson glow. Grinning at Valis' surprised expression, Naruto pulled his head back and crashed it against Valis' head. Valley recoiled heavily from Naruto's unexpected headbutt. He barely reeled in his surprise when a blast of demonic power shattered his armor and left him buried in the hard ground. Not allowing Valley enough time to recover, Naruto dove downwards, his entire body shrouded in his demonic power. Crashing at him in full force, Naruto heard the familiar snap of a few ribs. Valley screamed in pain, his eyes emboldened at the amount of damage done to his body. Wanting to shake Naruto off of him, Valis' attempts were futile. Naruto had pinned him down and began punching square on the face. Comparing the punches from now and the battle earlier, Valley could easily tell how much his blonde opponent had been holding back. Forming an orb of magic in his free hand, Valley blasted Naruto away and quickly took to the sky, instinctively reaching for another bottle of Phoenix tears. "No more bathwater for you, Valley," Naruto hissed aloud as he raised a hand covered in power of destruction, using it to completely wipe the bottle out of existence, taking pride in Valley's shock. Feeling the bottle disappear in his hands, Valley spat out some residue of blood and cursed he only brought 3 bottles of Phoenix tears. With the destruction of his most recent one, he only had one left in stock. Which meant not only did he greatly underestimate Naruto, but if he ran out he would have nothing to alleviate his body from Naruto's gruesome attacks. Thinking over the situation with a scowl firmly set on his face, Valley flew past a few orbs of magic sent his way and came to a conclusion. If he only had a single bottle left, then he would not be hit by Naruto. It sounded scarcely hard, but he did not have another option. Bring it on, Naruto. Off to the side, watching Naruto and Valley duke it out in an epic battle raging on not even a few feet from the ground he stood on. Issei Hyodo stared helplessly at their respective strengths. He may have managed to best some magicians, but here was his destined rival fighting at an entirely different level than he could even hope of achieving. Fists clenched in anger, Issei continued to watch Naruto and Valis duel until something managed to ignite a fire in him. Turning to Azazel, who was watching with a smirk, Issei all but shouted at the perverted fallen angel. "That band you gave me, how long will I have?" Issei asked, his brown eyes burning in motivation. Shrugging his shoulders and thinking it over, Azazel responded in kind. "The thing depends on your own physical capabilities. In this case I would say a few minutes until it gives out. But look here, kid, don't interrupt this fight. Even with your balance breaker, the level Valley in Naruto's auras will most likely kill you when that scale mail of yours is destroyed." "You're saying we can't do anything to help, Naruto?" Rias demanded, furious over the prospect of being unable to lift a finger to help her friend out. No matter her and Naruto's differences, she cherished their friendship. To see him fighting so damn hard only made her more inclined to help out. "Big brother, we have to do something." "There is nothing we can do, Rias, perhaps if the Red Dragon Emperor joined in and helped out. But a battle like this should not be interrupted by us," Sirzex answered solemnly, though he held supreme confidence in Naruto. The leaders were unable to do anything, but it did not mean the younger generation could not. From what he gathered so far, Naruto and Valley were unleashing an imposing amount of magic which only seemed to multiply when they clashed further and further. At this moment, no one other than Issei could survive their fight, and even then it was stretching it. "Alright then, let me go then, bucko," Issei said, his almost pleading words snapping Rias' attention to him. "Please bucko, I can help him out." Issei was more than happy to step into the battle if it meant Rias would be true to her words from earlier during their council meeting. It was there that she proposed that if he defeated Valley then she would allow him to have sex with her. Though cut and dry, he felt his perversion flow through every inch of his body, and thus a deluded courage birthed itself deep inside his heart. Never being the most impressive person in any room, much less the most impressive devil, Issei's high libido would outmatch anyone's, and now, faced with the prospect of having sex with Rias, Gremory of all people fired him up. "Issei." Rias whispered her opinion of him shooting through the roof. Only if she knew he wanted to help Naruto in order to sleep with her. Nodding at him, she flashed her pawn an endearing smile and motioned for him to go. "Be careful. Issei, the White Dragon Emperor is powerful." "Don't worry about me, bucko," Issei responded, returning her smile. Standing by Kamui with her hand firmly latched to her sword, Shiki frowned at the thought of only sending the pervert to help her longtime friend. Naruto insisted on fighting Valley alone, making both of them promise to stand aside. She wanted to jump right in and cut Valis lines, but Naruto valued promises dearly and he did not take kindly to anyone who broke them. Being exceptionally loyal, Shiki remained neutral, forcing herself to watch in a tortoise fashion, praying, even if it hurt, that her blonde king would win. Kamui, while impassive by Naruto's fight, felt his hands tighten at every attack Naruto took. He would never admit it, but Kamui cared for his king, a fact he wanted to keep hidden from everyone. Rather than worry for his king's health, Kamui believed in him. No matter who he faced, Naruto always came out on top. That had been the reason he chose to follow him. Naruto will win in the end. The only question was when will he win, not if. Thinking about Naruto's fight only angered Kamui. However, while his master went off to fight Valley, it left him bored out of his mind, waiting for it to end. Howling in pain, Valley scurried to a safe distance from Naruto, trying to nurture a massive bruise appearing on his face, scowling at the pain emanating from his latest wound. Valley maintained distance from Naruto, hoping to avoid another direct hit from his opponent. From inside his sacred gear, Albion studied the fight with unbridled curiosity. He is only growing stronger over time. The Divine Dividing's ability isn't affecting him at all, Albion observed, sharing in Valis' already explosive vexation. I know that. Valley snapped back, his cold gaze landing on Naruto's amused grin. Pondering over the situation, he decided on blinding Naruto, hoping he would make a mistake. Smirking and crossing his armored arms, Valley shifted his attention to Shiki and Kamui, his idea now fleshing itself to life. I wonder what would happen if I were to have my way with her. Rolling his eyes and snorting aloud, Naruto waved to Shiki. Have it just make sure Shiki doesn't kill you in the process. Off in the distance, now covered in his very own scale mail, Issei flew towards the two in an impassioned charge, tackling Valley in midair. Issei knocked him into the hard ground, furiously punching at Valley. Issei raised his arm and unsheathed Ascalon, stabbing it at Valley. Being the more resourceful of the two, Valley ducked his head to the side, narrowly avoiding the dragon-slaying sword, and blasted Issei off of him. You're in the way. Valley howled as he punched Issei square on the jaw, following his assault up with a knee to the chest. Clasping Issei by the collar and pulling him in close, his bloodshot red eyes gleamed in a hungry light. Raising another fist and shrouding it in an orb of white magic, he repeatedly struck his opponent even when the scale mail shattered to pieces. Oi juice boy, I am getting impatient here, finish off the pervert already. Naruto drawled on, his power of destruction flickering off of his body. Try and make it quick, will ya? Tossing Issei aside, Valley smirked and channeled more of his own demonic power. Spreading his two arms wide and allowing Albion's power to flow off of his body, he roared and began the haunting chant of the sacred gear's forbidden move. White orbs released themselves from the Divine Dividing, loud atrocious wails accompanying them. They were the souls of previous wielders of the Longinus who all unleashed Juggernaut Drive, which ultimately eroded their minds. But unlike the others who came before him, Valley found a suitable replacement for his life force. With his demonic power at an ultimate class level, he could use it as a suitable source of fuel to initiate Juggernaut Drive. Inside Divine Dividing, Albion kept his opinion neutral and prepared to fully unleash his might into the sacred gear and in turn Valley. I, who am about to awaken, am the heavenly dragon who has taken the principles of supremacy from God. I envy the infinite and I pursue the dream. I shall become the white dragon of supremacy and I shall take you to the limits of white paradise. Showered in an ominous flow of draconic power, Valley's scale mail twisted and turned, shifting in appearance as Albion's power was being released, taking on a more dragon-like appearance. The white armor grew claws on the hands and feet and golden horns protruded from the helmet, taking on an appearance similar to an actual dragon. His levels of magic exploded into unimaginable levels. Emboldened by Albion, Valley smirked behind his helmet. Not wasting any time and crashing into Naruto, Valley covered them in a shade of Albion's destructive might and furiously attacked him, punching and kicking in an intense rate, his continuous grievous physical attacks tearing through the protective layer power of disruption as Naruto's body began suffering the result of Valley's attack. Grabbing Naruto's exposed neck and launching him to the rocks, opening his palm and forming a large magic circle, Valley formed a beam of magic, shooting it at Naruto. A massive explosion punctuated Valley's attack and he smirked, panting at the strain his body now experienced from the overuse of Juggernaut Drive. Down in the newly formed crater, Naruto pulled himself upwards, his entire body bloodied and aching. Fresh crimson cascaded from a large gash slashed across his forehead. Though each muscle cried out, Naruto ventured on. Hey, that actually hurt, Valley, Naruto called out as he proceeded to pull himself out of the crater. Taking on the full brunt of a heavenly dragon really did hurt, and boy did he regret not fully erecting his defenses, letting his demonic power flow out of his body and snake itself around him. But you're going to need to do better. Just die already. Valley howled, descending towards Naruto, his body aimed straight at him. opening his palm and allowing an orb of spiraling demonic power to form. Naruto added more to his balloon-sized attack, now reaching the size of a small house. He unleashed his wings attack raised to meet Valley's fast-approaching form. Valley managed to land a solid strike on Naruto's exposed shoulder, but the blonde refused to back down. Naruto's attack tore through the armor. It shredded through layer after layer of sacred gear until his reworked Rasengan tore past skin and began wounding the muscle underneath. Crash landing in a loud thud, Valley and Naruto respectively attempted to stand, both unwilling to give up just yet. With a timely interruption from Shiki and another unnamed individual, Shiki unsheathed her blade and held it protectively in front of Naruto. The newest arrival merely grinned and twirled his staff in response. "Baku, what the hell are you doing here?" Valley snapped his hand, attempting to nurse his massive wound. The newly named Baku shrugged and helped Valley up, making sure you don't die. It looks like he sure did a number of you. "I am not finished yet," Valley hissed aloud, only to cough up a mouthful of blood. "Come on, we have to get back before we fight the northern gods," Baku declared, all as he winked at Shiki and teleported himself and Valley away. Watching them disappear, Shiki dropped her blade and sighed, her worried eyes landing on Naruto's battered body. Holding him close, Shiki frowned dangerously at her longtime friend. "You idiot, what were you thinking?" "Ow. That arm hurts, stop pinching me," Naruto shouted, yelping at the pain. "Let's go." With Shiki's help, Naruto proceeded to the others, though his mind wandered to the excruciating experience waiting for him in the future. A day later, laying on a large ornate bed, Naruto stared at the empty ceiling, searching for something, anything at all, to help alleviate his boredom. Since his encounter with Valley and the destructive fight afterwards, Shiki, Sona, and Rias all insisted on him resting in bed for an undisputed amount of time, with help from the best medics all over the underworld helping him recover and the 3 girls in his life keeping him under control. He remained confined in bed indefinitely. "Oi doc, can I leave yet?" Naruto asked the woman standing a small distance from his bed. Shaking her head at Naruto, the doctor crossed her arms and gave him a stern stare. "I apologize, Lord Naruto, but Lady Shiki has ordered me to keep you in bed until your injuries are fully healed." "But I am so bored," Naruto groaned, trying his best to get some sympathy points from the doctor. His efforts, however, were all for naught. All the beautiful woman did was smile and walk out of the room with her task finally complete. His alone time did not last for long. The door leading to his room swung open and Kamui strolled inside, his usual getup marred with dirt and blood. "Yo master, how are you feeling?" Kamui questioned while he took a seat on the large couch overlooking the television set. "Kamui, how many times do I have to remind you to clean up after your training?" The cold, strict voice of Shiki came to life. Entering the room with her sword in hand, she rested her hand on the handle, glaring at Kamui. Sweating at her threatening tone, Kamui coughed slightly, jumping out of the couch and quickly put a strained smile on his face. Watching him run away, Shiki closed the door and placed her blade a safe distance away. Spotting the untouched bowl of soup, she frowned and seated herself next to Naruto. "Naruto, why have you not been eating?" Shiki softly demanded, her dark eyes filling with worry. "I am not hungry, Shi-chan," Naruto answered, though Shiki's piercing stare did not help his resolve. It frightened him to no end whenever he saw that look now firmly set on Shiki's visage, cold and demanding. She could be one of the most frightening beings in existence. "Don't give me that look." Reaching over and grabbing the warm soup, Shiki filled a spoon with a mouthful of the dish and held it to Naruto's mouth. Spotting hints of defiance sprinkled across her master's countenance, Shiki retracted the utensil and frowned. "Naruto, please?" Sighing in defeat, Naruto opened his mouth and allowed Shiki to feed him, no matter how much he would have preferred ramen at the moment. The look directed his way burned away any argument. With the rather intimate moment over and the bowl of soup finished off, Naruto rested against his pillow and sighed in content, taking a moment to give Shiki a grateful look and a smile. He was left to his thoughts as Shiki left with the bowl. Since Valley and his scuffle, the 3 leaders of the biblical factions all agreed on a peace treaty as well as a mutual pact to fight off the Chaos Brigade. From what Naruto had gathered, many of the remaining 72 pillars were against the peace treaty, but Zekrom had backed the overall plan, which took the wind out of the opposing clan's sails. Zekrom, though not pleased by his incapacitated state, he allowed him to stay in Kuo until he recovered enough to return to his duties as the Biel clan heir. Rin Tasaka was not happy. Oh no, face distorted into a furious scowl. Grauzauberer had been closely associated with the underworld. They were provided resources by the devils and in return they shared their magical research. Due to their close ties, rumors that flowed around the underworld eventually found their way to Grauzauberer. When information regarding the battle between the White Dragon Emperor and Naruto Biel reached Rin's ears, she could not contain the combustible anger forming in her heart. After demanding more information from the more knowledgeable members of the organization, she managed to relieve her worries about Naruto. Now all that was left was her pent-up anger that needed to be released, and hopefully on Naruto of all people. Stomping past some of her fellow researchers, she made her way to her room, slamming the door shut. Rummaging her desk for her stored jewels, she finally found what she was looking for and prepared herself to teleport to Kuo. Magic circle forming itself below her feet, Rin channeled enough magic into her spell and teleported herself away. Appearing outside of the large gates of Kuo Academy, she quickly walked into the school looking for Naruto. However, her walk halted when Rin's attention turned to the approaching figure of Kamui. If it isn't Master's favorite pet magician, Kamui greeted. A smile formed on his face. Bristling in anger, Rin had half a mind to blast Kamui but reeled in her temper for now. Crossing her arms, she tapped her foot. "Where's Naruto, street rat?" Scoffing at Rin's comment, Kamui jabbed a finger towards the small house located a small distance away from the school. "Master is resting in that house." Nodding, Rin strolled past Kamui and marched to the house. Once inside, she was greeted by a gruff-looking guard. "I am here to see Naruto," Rin said. Snorting at her words, the guard crossed his arms and shook his head. "Approved visitors only, magician. No one gets to visit Lord Biel unless you're approved by Lord Biel himself." "I am his contracted magician, not on the list, girl." A third voice interrupted, much to Rin's relief. "It's fine, I'll take care of this. Lady Shiki," the guard said, nodding to the devil garbed in a kimono, and took his leave. "It's been a while," Rin mused as she followed Shiki through the long hallway. Shiki kept her expression neutral and nodded in agreement. "Yes, it has." Painfully long and awkward silence filled the air as the two continued to walk. It always had been like this ever since Naruto introduced the two girls to one another. There was some undeniable rivalry between the two, though both of them wanted to just chop it off as a mere rivalry. But one constant in their arguments was Naruto. Each and every time they fought, Naruto was the reason. "We're here," Shiki announced, pointing a finger to the large door leading to the bedroom. "Thank you," Rin muttered softly as she opened the door and stepping in the large lavish room where Naruto currently occupied. Seated on his bed per usual, Naruto looked surprised at Rin's sudden appearance. "Rin? Aren't you supposed to be back in Romania?" Stomping over to the bed and seating herself on the chair, she scowled furiously at Naruto. "That's all you have to say to me?" "No. Do you have any idea how worried I was? You stupid, block-headed idiot." Rin shouted, her eyes narrowed in a dangerous glint until a small but noticeable crack in her voice became audible. "I thought you were really hurt, or even dead." Sighing at Rin and fighting off his desire to call Rin a tsundere, Naruto gave Rin a comforting pat on her head. "You look really weird when you're about to cry." "Ass." Rin roared, sadness now gone from both her visage and tone, anger taking its place instead. "I was being honest." Chuckling in amusement, Naruto threw an arm around Rin and pulled the enraged magician into a comforting hug. "I know, Rin. Thank you for worrying about me." Cheeks tinged in a soft tint of pink, Rin muttered something under her breath but did not pull out of the hug. Moments passed until Rin built enough courage to say something on her mind, only to hear the rhythmic sound of Naruto's soft snores. Grumbling at Naruto's lack of tact, she sighed and simply remained put, allowing him to rest. It was just her luck. Valley had experienced many things in life. Defeat being the latest lesson life had taught him. Though only a day or so had passed since his fight with Naruto, his body's recovery rate was less than satisfactory. From what the Chaos Brigade's doctors said, he would be unable to leave his bed for a few weeks, and any strenuous activity would further damage his already present wounds. Cursing out Naruto's name with all the energy he could muster, Valley kept his thoughts to himself as the door of his room swung open. A small, petite little girl stood on the other end of the door, a blank expression firmly set on her face. Garbed in a gothic dress with her chest exposed, she strolled in the room, ignoring the large frown Valley wore. "Tell me, White Dragon Emperor, how did you, of all people, end up in such a pitiful state?" "Ophis." Valley snarled, banging his fist on the wall, creating a large crack in his wake. "Do not expect me to save you again. You, like every member of my organization, is expendable." Ophis threatened, her empty expression shifting into an emotionless sneer. "Perhaps I should convince Naruto Biel to join my cause. He did beat you senseless and did so without even fully exposing his true capabilities." After hearing the last sentence out of Ophis' mouth, Valley growled furiously, his demonic power exploding all over. What Ophis said was true. Even before Biku had saved him from Naruto, he already figured out that his opponent did not tap into his real abilities. Knowing that Naruto did not consider him a big enough threat to take him seriously only infuriated him to new levels of rage. "I will beat him next time," Valley vowed, his narrowed gaze turning to Ophis. "I care little for your meaningless rivalry. All I care about is Great Red." But know this, boy. I will extract divine dividing from your body and grant it to a worthier servant if you fail me again. With that said, Ophis left the room as Valley held his tongue and glared at his injured body. He would defeat Naruto the next time. Though a part of him wanted to murder Naruto, the other part was burning with excitement. If Naruto was strong enough to defeat him in Juggernaut Drive without truly taking him seriously, then the blonde was sure to be leaps and bounds more powerful, and knowing that made Valley giddy at his next encounter with him. Kuo City. Though he was supposed to be in bed resting, Naruto with the help of Kamui managed to sneak out of the heavily guarded house. Now, caught up in the endless wave of people, both devils were keen on further exploring what Kuo City had to offer. Since he developed an unfathomable hate for being cooped up, Naruto had all but forced his ever-loyal Rook to help him escape. Yo! Master, look over there! Kamui called out, pointing to a small restaurant nestled between two office buildings. Worn down and damaged through the passage of time, it looked simple and unappealing, yet still he and his master marched on, neither willing to overlook food. Leading the way, Naruto and his Rook were greeted by an elderly woman wearing a traditional flower-printed kimono and a pair of thick glasses. She sat them on a small table and waited patiently for them to order. Looking over the menu, Naruto hummed thoughtfully over a variety of dango combinations until his heart settled on goma dango, a type of salty and sweet variation of the dish. Kamui being himself settled on everything, one of each. What's wrong, master, aren't you hungry? Kamui asked, his eyes studying over Naruto. Like him, his king usually ordered a gluttonous amount of food regardless of what type. Seeing him order an abnormal quantity of food was irregular. Not very, Naruto answered, his mind wandering to the inconsistent memories ringing around his head. Thinking over Naruto's remarks for a moment, Kamui shrugged and waited patiently for his food. When his master entered one of his moods, he usually stayed like that for the day. After the woman brought them their food, the two devils happily munched on their lunch, though Naruto still remained somewhat distracted. As the duo continued to eat their lunch in a comfortable silence, a new arrival caught their attention. Standing at the entrance, a bespectacled young man dressed in a polished blue blazer, with evenly cut silver hair and a sharp golden gaze. He smiled pleasantly at his fellow diners. The owner appeared once again, greeting him in the same fashion she had done with Naruto and Kamui. After seating himself and ordering his meal, the unnamed arrival chose to focus his attention on Naruto. If I may ask, how is the food? He questioned politely. Pretty good, Dragon Boy. Kamui responded, grinning at the mildly surprised look the young man had displayed. At such a distance he could practically smell the draconic magic seeping through him. Chuckling and nodding his head, the new arrival offered a hand over to Kamui as he responded in kind. My name is Seiryu Kushihashi, next heir of the Kushihashi clan and current possessor of the Azure Dragon. A pleasure to meet your acquaintance. Kamui, was all the Rook said as Seiryu turned his handshake over to Naruto. Naruto Biel. Naruto answered in kind, but the pleasant smile Seiryu wore merely confirmed his suspicion. Seiryu already knew who he was and more or else chose to eat in the dango shop in order to meet him. So why'd you decide to come here, Dragon Boy? I felt an immense demonic power residing in this part of Kuo and decided to investigate. From the sheer size alone I assumed you were one of the four Satans. Seiryu answered honestly, rubbing the back of his head in mild embarrassment. At a few feet away he could now see the sheer size of the devil's demonic power. The simplest explanation was an ocean locked away roaring for escape. Though he kept it relatively hidden, waves still leaked out. Accepting Seiryu's answer, Naruto stared intently at the human and his face bursting into a massive smile. Join my peerage, I'll give you an endless supply of ramen and you even get your own bed. Doesn't that sound wonderful? I already have a bed, Biel-san. Waving his hand dismissively, Naruto's cheery expression vanished, seemingly to have never existed. Giving Seiryu a final once over, he turned away from the sacred beast wielder. Ah, too bad. I wonder what Suzaku-chan would say if I asked her. You know Himejima-san? Seiryu muttered aloud, surprise evident in both his tone and expression. It was no secret the Himejima clan despised devils and fallen angels alike. They were avid hunters of the two. For someone so high on the food chain like the Biel clan's heir to know the Himejima clan's heir was irregular. Yup. Who do you think helps her relieve her stress? I have very nimble fingers. Blushing at Naruto's sly innuendo, Seiryu pictured the beautiful heiress and his blush brightened, pushing his glasses back into their original position and trying his best to fight off the perverse thoughts entering his mind. Seiryu coughed somewhat, finally reining himself. With the grace expected of a member of the Kushihashi, Seiryu nodded politely while simultaneously filing away questions later for Suzaku tonight. His teasing grin returning, Naruto nodded as he leaned in close to Seiryu, whispering loudly, you should hear all of her of the noises she makes. She loves it rough, ya know? Kamui, having been witness to Naruto's entire escapade, he laughed loudly at the scandalized look Seiryu wore. Finishing off the last of the dango, Kamui rubbed his belly and released a content sigh. Master, I think it's time we left for that ramen stand. Think about my offer. I'll even buy you a collar if you say yes, Naruto said, bidding goodbye to the human all before dropping a wad of cash on the table. Seiryu, however, did not respond. He merely sat there, mouth slightly agape, clearly still lingering on the of Suzaku Hamejima naked. Leaving him to his lewd thoughts, Naruto and Kamui left the establishment keen on finding another one to give their business to. Walking through Kuo's busy streets, Naruto involuntarily bumped against a man, knocking him onto his back. Ah, sorry about that, old man. Naruto apologized hastily, helping the man up. Studying him for a moment, he smirked and produced a small paper with the Biel clan seal etched on it. Take this for your inconvenience. Right. The businessman muttered softly, looking over the strange drawing. After a moment he pocketed it and gave the taller blonde a curious glance. What is it anyway? Call it a favor. My name's Naruto Biel, by the way, old man. Naruto responded, raising an offered hand. Shaking it politely, the man introduced himself. I am Ao. He's already gone. Off in the distance, Kamui blanched at the human Naruto had gifted a summoning seal to. While devils handed them out in large droves, his master rarely made any contracts with humans, only ones he found interesting. Spotting the confusion on Kamui's face, Naruto gave his rook an amused grin and motioned for him to follow. Trudging past some other humans, Naruto ignored their fleeting conversations, choosing to shield his eyes from the oppressive sunlight shining down from above. Deciding to answer the unasked question, he, with an excessive amount of force, slapped Kamui on the back. Hey, come on, Kamui. More food awaits. Lifting herself off of her desk and towards the large couch, Suzaku groaned loudly as she stretched her tired limbs, trying her best to fight off her drowsiness. Sighing, she rubbed her sore shoulders, but no matter how she massaged her tired muscles, sleep was still gnawing away at her. Before sleep could take her, a familiar voice merrily chided her. Su-chan, why are you laying like that? Do you want me to ravish you that badly, hum? Glaring half-heartedly at the teasing remark, Suzaku groaned once more as she crossed her arms. Naruto-kun, you were supposed to be here an hour ago. I am so sorry, Su-chan, can you ever forgive me? Naruto cried, dramatically clasping his hands together in a pleading fashion. 5 minutes of over-he-top begging. He spotted an amused twitch on Suzaku's lips. I suppose I could forgive you this one time. Smiling victoriously, Naruto pulled Suzaku in close, whispering low, now that you forgave me, how about some make-up sex? Giving him a pointed stare, Suzaku allowed an searing flame envelope her hand as she raised it threateningly. What did you say, Naruto-kun? I said that I would rather have you crush me to death with your juicy thighs, Su-chan. You are impossible. Oh come on, I am so much better than your other suitors. Sighing at the mention of her long line of suitors, Suzaku grumbled beneath her breath. Like any heiress of a powerful family, she had hundreds of men clamoring for her hand in marriage. Though her family's status and substantial fortunes made her a prime candidate for marriage, it was her appearance that really brought in suitors. How could anyone resist? Suzaku Hamejima was simply breathtaking. With long black hair tied up in a simple ponytail and a pair of warm red eyes, she had an appearance of a woman with Japanese descent. Hidden behind her shrine maiden's outfit was a slim, voluptuous figure women would kill for. All in all, Suzaku was a beautiful gem that any man would happily marry. How about you do your part of the deal? Suzaku asked as she slowly dropped her robes to a reasonable level and awaited for Naruto. Chuckling at her, Naruto did as he was told, massaging Suzaku's tense body. The first day they had met, he had given her the exact same treatment, massaging away her stress. They originally met at an evening ramen stand. After a ridiculous amount of flirtatious comments, Suzaku caved in, accepting one of Naruto's offers to relieve her pent-up stress. How are you so good at this? Suzaku called out as a rather unladylike groan escaped her lips. Su-chan, I can make you feel better a different way, Naruto responded, grinning wickedly at Suzaku's disapproving frown. Just keep. Whatever Suzaku was about to say died in her mouth as more groans of pleasure escaped her. Oh. Kuo City, inside the temporary Biel group residence. Rin Tasaka, magician of Grauzauberer and contracted wizard to Naruto Biel, sat on a small, comfortable chair glaring at Shiki. Gathered in the spacious living room, Rin and Shiki were busy trying to ignore the other's presence, but neither were succeeding in their efforts. While she labored over a book on jewel magecraft, Rin would repeatedly look up from her book and send chilling looks toward Shiki. While the knight cleaned her sword, she would too occasionally scowl at Rin. Walking in the room with a bag of popcorn in hand, Kamui glanced curiously between knight and magician, trying to figure out what was causing the tense atmosphere in the room. Pondering over every possibility, Kamui coughed, drawing attention to him, and asked, "So when is master coming back?" "He should be back soon," Shiki replied, her glare never leaving Rin. Finally looking up from her book, Rin noticed the glare and returned with her own, sharing a glare down. Both women pushed away their activities, now keen on butting heads, crossing her arms and drawing attention to the Biel clan symbol printed on her palm. I do wonder why Naruto keeps you around Ryugi. I thought he would be smarter than to keep a small-time swordsman as his knight. Cute words coming from the half-baked magician. Shiki snorted, annoyance obvious on her visage. I don't think Naruto keeps you around for your ability with technology. Bristling in a mixture of shame and anger, Rin recoiled, but she did not back down. Technology and her did not mix well. No matter how she tried to learn to use phones or even a television set, she always ended up causing a mess. Her troubles were well documented and Shiki never intended for her to live it down. Ever. You want to fight? You read my mind, Shiki hissed, drawing her blade and prepared to slice open the girl. Throwing an amethyst at Shiki, Rin channeled all of the stored energy and cast her spell, Gander. Spotting the lines that surrounded Rin's offensive spell, Shiki flicked her wrist ready to slice the attack, but an orb of demonic power absorbed the explosion. Once Gander was vanquished, both girls were swiftly knocked off of their feet and sent tumbling to their backsides. Watching them nurse their respective wounds, Naruto grinned happily at the glares now firmly set on him. I bet you two were fighting over me, weren't you? Naruto asked, though he received no response other than the varying levels of frowns worn on their faces. It's okay, you two. You can always share me, my treat. Go to hell. Rin snarked, stupid master. Shiki answered, agreeing wholeheartedly with Rin's statement. Feigning hurt over their words, Naruto threw both arms around the two, staring intently into their eyes. Suzaku didn't want any make-up sex, how about you two? Master. Shiki whispered, her eyes flashing from dark to an ethereal glow. Pouting at her threat, Naruto lifted his arm from Shiki and proceeded to focus solely on Rin. How about it, him? I would love to taste of your moist Gander. Smirking in amusement, Naruto ignored the incoming attack and simply allowed his power of destruction to shield him. Approaching Rin's huffing form, he gave her a reassuring pat on the head and made himself comfortable on the couch. Ignoring the colorful words Rin said from under her breath, he then turned to Shiki, who sheathed her blade, choosing wisely not to pursue the previous argument. When are we going back to the underworld, master? Kamui asked, taking a seat beside Naruto, his bag of popcorn open and the buttery goodness exposed for him to enjoy. Pondering over Kamui's question, Naruto shrugged his shoulders and took a handful of popcorn, much to his rook's annoyance. No idea, but since the old bastard hasn't demanded me to return yet, I say let's enjoy our little vacation. Do not forget your responsibilities now, master, Shiki warned, though she did enjoy some time off here and there. Bah. You worry too much, Shiki. Blinking owlishly at the Biel group's interaction, Rin took a seat on the opposite end of Shiki. Naruto did catch her out-of-place expression. Flashing her with one of his merry grins, he directed a question her way. Are you going back to Grauzauber? I have a few days left of my requested time off, Rin replied, though she herself not entirely sure if she wanted to just head back to Romania. You can accept my offer, Rin, Naruto said, his hand holding onto a bishop piece. Since their first meeting, he initially wanted Rin to join his peerage. After some shouting followed by an unnecessarily long conversation about the benefits of being a devil, Rin agreed on becoming his contracted magician. Their agreement benefited both parties, but Naruto offered her the opportunity to be reincarnated every time they spoke. Rin simply gave him an apologetic smile and reused the same phrase she used every time he would ask. No can do. Naruto, not until I finish my time. I finish my time with Grauzauber. You do remember our contract, right? Yeah. I would give you financial support until you finish your studies with those greasy bastards, then you join my peerage. Frowning at the snarky comment, Rin decided to not bring up the use of greasy and simply sighed. Why do you always call magicians that? Because they are. Chuckling at Naruto's shit-eating grin, Kamui cackled aloud, spitting out strands of popcorn and kernels in the process. Good one, master. Giving Kamui a thumbs up followed by another smile, Naruto opened his mouth to retort, but the sudden appearance of a magic circle stopped him. Stepping outside with bearing his infamous frown, Zekrom Biel gave the occupants a cold, calculating glance until his violet eyes landed on Naruto, his usual amusement now gone. Zekrom waved off the others with a practiced flick of his wrist. Shiki, take everyone to the kitchen for some food, Naruto commanded, his usual flirty tone replaced by one of seriousness. Mildly surprised by Naruto's change in behavior, Shiki nodded and motioned for the others to follow. Kamui and Rin alike shot Naruto curious glances but begrudgingly followed Shiki out. Naruto rarely became serious. He usually had an air of playfulness to him, only ever fully taking an urgent stance when the situation turned dire. Once their figures retreated out of the room, Naruto gave Zekrom an inquisitive look. We have an issue. Zekrom began crossing his fingers together in an uncharacteristic scowl taking residence on his visage. I have recently uncovered some sympathizers for the Chaos Brigade among the extra demons. They will be dealt with accordingly. However, you will be tasked with dealing with Deodora Astaroth, one of their more influential supporters. Raising his brow, Naruto leaned against his seat thinking over the situation. Realization soon dawned on him as his eyes narrowed slightly. What do you want me to do about it exactly? If this becomes public knowledge, it would ruin the 72 Pillars image. With how delicate the situation between the pure-blooded devils and reincarnated devils, we do not need any unnecessary distractions, Zekrom muttered. I need you to remedy the situation. The gathering of young devils is approaching. There I will have you matched against Deodora. You'll know what to do afterwards. Taking Zekrom's hint, Naruto nodded slightly. You want me to kill him? A stray dog needs to be put down before he causes harm to our people. Snorting at Zekrom, Naruto drummed his fingers against the armrest of the couch. Killing, while frowned upon, was perfectly legal in a raiding game. Accidents happened when devils fought against each other in a competitive manner. There had been a history of death since the raiding game's creation. Little to no repercussions were given out by the Satans. No one would dare punish Naruto if he did kill Deodora. Like how you had Claria Belial and her lover killed? Naruto mused offhandedly. If Zekrom was surprised he did not show it. How did you come by this information? Falbium told me. Shaking his head, Zekrom kissed his teeth in annoyance. Asmodeus had no right to speak to you about that incident. I'll take care of Deodora. Make sure you do. I will not have my image tarnished by a rebellious child. Yeah, kill the nun-loving freak. Got it. HMPH. Then this will be it. I should not have to remind you that maintaining our image is very important. Right. Kill the freaky bastard and have victory sex with Seek-chan. I hope you do not destroy another political marriage. Chuckling, Naruto shrugged his shoulders, refusing to answer. Through negotiations, the Bael and Agara's clans agreed on a potential arranged marriage between Lord Agara's only daughter and Lord Bael's 3 sons. No names were chosen as of yet, but Naruto and Sairog were commonly brought up as potential suitors. That being said, the Agara's clan were the moderator for the Bael clan, the 4 great Satans and the remaining noble devil clans. Strengthening the ties between the 2 most influential clans would always be beneficial for both sides. Oh, why so serious, old man? Maybe I do want to marry Seek-chan. Who knows, I might just give up my claim as heir and become the next Lord Agaras. You dare? Zekrom snarled, his normally calm, calculative eyes now burning in righteous anger. Since he could comprehend his importance as the only proper heir to the Bael name, Naruto wholeheartedly abused the privileges that came along with his rank. Though young, he got away with everything no matter how grievous his actions were. At one point, the residents of Lilith, the underworld's capital, dubbed Naruto as the terror of Lilith. Who knows what he'll do? Frowning, Zekrom's demonic power flared as he glared holes into Naruto's skull. No one disrespected him in such an audacious manner. For his descendant to threaten him infuriated him to no end. Even though his power of destruction was legendary, he knew Naruto outclassed him both power and control over his infamous ability. It did not matter though. He would not be pushed around by a boy even if he was his unquestioned heir. Allowing his overwhelming demonic power to come to life, Naruto did not back down in the slightest. After a few minutes of their clash of wills, Naruto cut off his power or destruction. Grinning cheekily, he threw both arms up in a placating manner. Fine, you were way too serious, old man. Just make sure you return for the event, Zekrom said, knowing full well Naruto only backed down simply because he no longer found their exchange amusing. No matter how many conversations were exchanged by them, he could never truly understand the enigma he called his heir. I know you have been faking your injuries. Do not abuse my goodwill any longer. Aye, Captain. Watching Zekrom leave in the same fashion he had arrived, Naruto groaned aloud, contemplating what to do for the upcoming weeks. Maybe he could tease Sona and her peerage, or even Rias and her overly perverted pawn. There were quite a few things he could do keep himself entertained, but for now stuffing his body with an unhealthy amount of food seemed like a plan. Kuo City, the student council were out in full force today. Hundreds of documents littered their shared office. No matter how much they tried to finish, it seemed the piles only grew bigger by the minute. Even inside of her office, Sona could feel the workload take an effect on her. They were currently swamped by paperwork for an upcoming school festival, which in itself generated an abundant amount of paperwork. Top that off with upcoming club budgeting. The C-Tree peerage would be working non-stop for the next few days to finish their large workload. Having sent off her peerage for the night, Sona currently sat inside her office doing her best to finish the large stack of papers neatly placed on her desk since the morning. Stubborn to a fault, she continued working, knowing full well that by the time she finished it would already be the next day. Taking off her glasses, Sona pinched the bridge of her nose, attempting to soothe her aching head. Her morning headache had continued to bother her up to this point. Countless hours of reading requests did not help in the matter. Hearing a knock, Sona merrily sighed and put her glasses back on. Come in. Yo, Sa-chan. Tsubaki said you would be working late, Naruto said cheerfully, strolling in with bags in hand. Hope you like ramen. Naruto, please, I have a headache right now, I am not in the mood. Hearing her exasperated tone, Naruto sighed as he dropped the food off on an unoccupied chair. Giving Sona an reassuring grin, he pulled out 2 plastic containers, one filled with broth and the second noodles. Come on Sona, you have to eat something. I am busy, she responded, though her wavering voice did not sound convincing. Man, I keep forgetting how stubborn you are, Sona. Rolling her eyes, Sona chose wisely to drop the brewing argument. Just leave the food here, I have to finish this. That can wait, Naruto said, an amused expression adorning his face. Yanking Sona up from her desk, he threw his arms around her petite frame, wrapping her snugly against himself. What are you doing? Isn't it obvious? I am recharging myself with So-chan energy. Folding her arms lightly around him, she swung her face away from Naruto's as she whispered something softly under her breath, and I am recharging on my Naruto energy too. You do remember? Naruto exclaimed, beaming at her. Of course I do, you always said it every time we hugged. Sona replied, burying her face on Naruto's chest in an unsuccessful attempt at hiding her flushed face. Quieting down somewhat, she tightened her hold around her friend. We never do this anymore, so I am just humoring you. Understood, Sa-chan. Sona had come to realize long ago her friend Naruto could not take a hint. Saying no to him was essentially telling a fish not to swim. The blonde was extremely persistent when he barged into her office like he tended to do. He essentially told her to guide him around the city. After a grueling series of refusals, Naruto simply kidnapped her from her office. Her peerage simply watched the entire situation unfold from the sidelines, while Saji looked like he wanted to interfere. Tsubaki, for some odd reason, kept him in check. Now, Sona was strolling through the busy streets of Kuo City with an overly excitable blonde dragging her along. So-chan, you don't look very happy, Naruto mused, pouting ever slightly at her clear-cut annoyance. It's like you didn't want to come on this date. Sona felt her lips thin as she merely gave her friend an exasperated stare. You dragged me out of my office early in the morning. I could be finishing up the rest of my paperwork, not wandering aimlessly around the city. Sa-chan, you are so mean to me. Before she could spout another snark response, Naruto dragged her into some random boutique stocked full of dresses. The clerk spotted their entry and immediately began jumping into a sales pitch. She was very forceful as she practically shoved Sona into the changing room with an armful of dresses in tow. Once left alone to change, Sona debated whether or not she wanted to simply teleport away, but chose not to. Naruto had an almost sixth sense on where to find her. Teleporting away would only delay the inevitable. While pondering her next move, she unconsciously put on one of the many dresses only to snap back to reality at the sight of her very generous display of cleavage. Changing back to her school uniform, Sona left in a hurry, making sure to drag Naruto out of the store before the woman brought out more low-cut dresses for her to try on. Can I go back to school now? Nope. Naruto denied swiftly, we have some more things to do. Like? Visiting the Love Hotel and screwing like rabbits in heat? Absolutely not. But I can already picture us doing the naked tango. No. Pouting once more, Naruto simply sighed in defeat. Fine, no love hotels. Sheesh, you are no fun today, So-chan. How about some lunch? Sona suggested, using her free hand to massage the bridge of her nose. I am sure we can find some restaurant willing to fill the bottomless pit you call your stomach. I know the perfect place. Clasping hands with Sona, Naruto led her around the bustling city until they arrived at the place he intended to eat in. Looking at the establishment in utter disgust, Sona scowled hauntingly at her friend. A maid cafe? Yup. I am leaving. Wait, So-chan, it's just lunch. Just lunch. Sona reiterated as she crossed her arms at the blonde's blatant desire to see women in maid outfits. Why would I ever degrade myself by dining in a maid cafe? I have a coupon for 1 Pika Pika parfait. We can take turns feeding each other. Seeing Sona's sour frown, Naruto relented in a defeated manner. Fine, we can go somewhere else. Sona decided to guide Naruto away from the questionable establishments in favor of more appealing ones. After some mild deliberation, their choice of eatery was a small noodle shop nestled at the edge of Kuo. Awaiting their orders, Sona decided to ask the question currently plaguing her mind. Tell me, Naruto, why did you decide to pester me today of all days? Eh? I just wanted to spend time out on a date with my precious So-chan. This is not a date, whatever you say. when Sona finally escaped Naruto. She made her way back to the student council room intent on finding Tsubaki. All she found was an empty room devoid of anyone, much to her confusion. It had only been 2 hours and there was plenty of work to be done. Her peerage would never outright abandon their duties. Frowning in confusion, she decided to teleport home. Hopefully Tsubaki would be there. It seemed she did not successfully shake off Naruto like she hoped. He somehow found his way to her, grinning mildly at her annoyed frown. "You can be mad another time, Sa-chan. Come on, we're almost late for the last part of our date," Naruto said, taking hold of Sona's hand and immediately teleporting away before she could protest. Looking at her new surroundings, Sona gave her friend an accusatory glare once she took note of the very familiar-looking castle. "Why are we in the underworld exactly? No more questions, just follow me." Dragging her to the castle entrance, the duo waited patiently for the large oak doors to swing open. Inside the lavishly decorated castle were Sona's many friends and family waiting patiently for her arrival. Once they spotted her, the group of merrymakers shouted aloud something she had completely forgotten about. "Happy birthday, Sona." Realization quickly dawned on Sona's surprised face as she schooled it seconds later and smiled kindly at her close-knit group of well-wishers. Her parents and Serafal were present, standing at the front of the group. Next to them stood Rias and her cousin Sairog, their respective peerages faithfully by their sides. Her own peerage stood close to the center with Tsubaki at the lead. Feeling Naruto shove her to the waiting arm of her parents, Sona mouthed a quick thank you before giving her family her undivided attention. More friends greeted her, offering congratulations as well as compliments. Soft ballads played harmoniously in the background as servants dipped in and out offering refreshments to the guests. Turning around to thank Naruto, Sona did not find a trace of him. Sadly, it seemed he all but disappeared once her party begun. Ignoring the sudden pang in her heart, Sona kept her smile in place, making sure to thank everyone for attending. Soon Rias and Sairog appeared to offer their own congratulations. "How could you forget your own birthday?" Sairog said, shaking his head in amusement. "I have been so busy lately it seemed to have slipped my mind," Sona replied, humor obvious in her tone. Truthfully, her work as student council president took up most of her time, considering how much work plagued her currently. That, alongside the fast-approaching Young Devils gathering and the subsequent tournament after her birthday, did get pushed towards away in favor of more important matters. "If memory serves, you did come late to your last birthday celebration." "I was training," Sairog defended, though he too understood how feeble his argument was. "Besides, I did show up 2 hours later." "Have either of you seen Naruto around?" Rias raised her brow curiously, clearly confused as to why their lovable blonde friend was not present. "No idea. He was the one responsible for keeping you busy." "Looks like my brother had something important to do, or else he would be here," Sairog said, downing the last of his drink. "I am sure he will be back, eventually." Bael Castle. Pacing around his grandiose study, Zekrom scowled at the current progenitor of his headaches, choosing now to whistle in an attempt to alleviate the awkward silence. Naruto kept doing so until Zekrom slammed his hands on his desk. "Do you ever think before acting? Or do consequences mean nothing to you?" "Thinking about consequences is just so boring," Naruto replied, his lips curving into a cheeky smile. "I don't understand why you are so angry about me giving some useless land. That useless land has been under Bael clan control for generations. What purpose is your purpose in gifting away some of our territory? I fail to understand why you decided to do so." Rolling his eyes, Naruto readjusted his sitting position. "All right, how about I fully commit to being heir? Will you stop this little interrogation then?" "No, unless you give me one good reason why you gifted that portion of land to the Sea-Tree heiress." "Because I felt like it." Balling his hands into fists, Zekrom uncurled them seconds later, his anger slowly but surely leaving him. "Consider this my one last act of good faith. I will not accept any more careless acts on your part, am I understood?" "Yuip," Naruto uttered as he began to stand. "Sit down, boy, we have much more to discuss." "Fine. Your upcoming rating game against Deodora Astaroth. I have made plans to sabotage the retiring feature of the match. No one on either side will be able to leave the field. Make sure you kill before anyone gets too suspicious." "How flashy do you want his execution? Wait, more importantly, are costumes allowed? I can have Serafal get my peerage Satan Ranger uniforms." "Take this seriously." Zekrom snapped, taking a hearty gulp of his wine in an unsuccessful attempt to calm his agitated nerves. "Finish him off before he can do anything too damaging to our fragile balance, and no costumes." "What about his peerage?" Naruto asked, resting his chin against his open palm. "I am not going to kill some former nuns for you. You won't have to. Once Deodora dies, his peerage will be free to do as they please." Though the idea of freedom from Deodora sounded pleasing, Naruto knew far too well what future awaited master-less reincarnated devils. If lucky, they would be recruited into another peerage, but if they failed to impress upon any potential masters, their lives were bound to unfair conditions set upon them by other high-class devils. Some would even find employment from their previous masters' families, though unlikely at best. Not many held any true compassion for reincarnated devils. Pursing his lips, Naruto could feel some form of camaraderie towards those would-be unwanted reincarnated devils. Offer them jobs in our apple orchards if they want it, Naruto said, focusing his slightly narrowed eyes on Zekrom. Why would I even consider such a condition? Out of the goodness of your heart. Naruto pondered, hopefully only to be met with an emotionless stare. Right, forgot who I was talking to for a second there. Fine, I'll consider marrying someone. Which one? Zekrom demanded, watching Naruto more intently now. Seeing him shrug in response, Zekrom sighed but accepted the condition nevertheless. Very well then, you are dismissed. Yosh. I have to send Valley his present, Satan read, rolling out. Facepalming at the sheer stupidity, Zekrom asked his final question. You are only doing this to infuriate me, aren't you? Striking a very familiar-looking pose, Naruto flashed Zekrom one large thumbs up with an equally big smile to match. Maybe. Sona collapsed on one of the many couches inside Sea-Tree Castle, pondering tonight's events only brought forth a small frown. Her peerage were fast asleep by now, too worn out by the exciting night. She enjoyed her close-knit friends and family's company, but her closest friend did not stay long enough to even officially wish her a happy birthday. She knew it had been selfish of her to want more from her friend who worked on helping prepare the party to begin with. No matter how childish she thought herself to be, it did not stop the strong desire to hear her longtime friend congratulate her. Sighing, Sona pushed her glasses back in place, her mind still lingering on one very hyperactive blonde. Stupid Naruto. If that's how you feel, I don't think I should give you your present now, came Naruto's chiding tone. Snapping back into reality, Sona nearly jumped from her seated position in surprise. Where did you come from? You really should be quiet, So-chan, no need to wake everyone. I never had the opportunity to thank you for helping plan the party. Sona began, doing her very best to maintain her calm facade, but you disappeared before I could. Rolling his eyes at her offhanded comment, Naruto held out his hand for her. Come on, So-chan, I had to make sure your present was perfect. Accepting his hand, Sona allowed Naruto to drag her to her feet and away into a magic circle. Disappearing from Sea-Tree Castle, they reappeared in a small hill illuminated just barely by the underworld's oddly colored moon. The only thing other here was a large campus of buildings seated behind a large intricate gate bearing the Sea-Tree symbol. Sona recognized no territory like this one. She knew of every property her family owned. Blinking incredulously at it, she waited patiently for Naruto to answer her silent questions. He did not immediately speak, however. Reaching into his back pocket, he produced a single beige envelope with her name neatly written at its center. Taking it, she broke its wax seal, taking note of the Biel insignia as she pulled out its contents. Under careful consideration, I, Zekrom Biel of the Biel clan, do hereby support Lady Sona Sea-Tree's decision to create a school for raiding games. The Biel clan will aid the school in any future endeavors. This is your dream, right, Sona? Naruto interrupted, deciding best to use her full name. You told me about it when we were kids. You wanted to create a school that taught raiding games for reincarnated devils. I said I would help, remember? This land is now officially yours. When you do eventually open the school, you will have the support of the Biel clan too. Idiot. Sona whispered softly, her face downcast. Tears had already been forming in her eyes long before Naruto finished speaking. All she could do now was fight them back. Taking time to collect herself, she finally gazed up at Naruto's grinning face. No longer capable of hiding her own blooming smile, she giggled slightly and threw her arms around him, burying her watery eyes on his chest. You really are an idiot. Feeling warm tears drizzle around his shirt, Naruto chose wisely to ignore it in favor of staring intently at the dark sky. Neither he nor Sona knew how long they stood in that position, but after collecting herself once again, Sona pulled away her puffy violet eyes, locking onto Naruto's cerulean. Normally, she would have admonished both herself and Naruto for how close they were, but truthfully she did not outright mind it. Appearing collected on the outside, mentally, Sona was going through hell. Was she supposed to say something else? Was he? Wanting to nothing more than to consult her vast collection of romance novels, Sona could barely keep her external expression calm in her current state of disarray. Mentally scolding herself, Sona allowed one large smile to form on her face as she gave Naruto another hug. They were only friends, not lovers, but why did that fact hurt more than her uncertainty? Happy birthday, Sa-chan. Thank you, Naruto, hearing Naruto's muffled snort of laughter. Sona glared daggers his way, clearly not amused. Pushing him back, she puffed her cheeks out in indignation, hissing at his blatant mirth. Seeing her puffed cheeks, Naruto could not hold it back any longer. Normally stoic and calm, Sona now appeared very similar to an enraged chipmunk. Her rounded cheeks were dusted in a soft shade of pink, reminding him too much of the woodland creature. Imagining her in an oversized chipmunk suit while making that face brought forth more chortles. "Sorry, Sachan, you just look so adorable," Naruto complimented earnestly. "You know, if your pawn saw that face you were making, he would propose on the spot." "I am not speaking to you." Sona snapped, her pride singed by his laughter. She did appreciate the compliment but refused to say it out loud. If he heard her appreciation for his compliment, it would only embolden him. That did not sound too bad though. Anyone would fall madly in love with the Seatree heiress if they saw that expression. "I am serious." Swallowing hard, she whispered softly, "Even you." Seeing Naruto's unreadable face pull closer, Sona felt her blush deepen. Feeling his warm breath tickle her ear, she felt her breath catch and her heart hammer audibly in her ears. Who knows? Returning back to his room after an extremely tedious day, all Valley wanted to do was lay down and go to sleep. However, it seemed a surprise awaited him this fateful day. To be precise, an extremely large body pillow with a half-nude Naruto printed on it laid on his bed. Next to it was a large basket containing an impressive collection of yaoi memorabilia and what appeared to be a miniature Naruto. Attached to the basket was an envelope. Taking it and pulling out the letter, Valley already had a sinking suspicion of who sent him the gifts. "Hey Emo Dragon, it's me, your friendly neighborhood Naruto. I thought since you decided to go full-blown terrorist on me, I'd give you some parting gifts. Considering how obsessed you are about me, I had Kamui make a body pillow for you to snuggle with on your lonely nights. Oh, and portable mini-me's to bring around to stalk me. Remember to wash the body pillow and try to forget about me. I know how much it hurts, but it's for the best. Until the next time we meet, Emo Dragon, or do you prefer Tsunere Dragon? Better yet, Masochist Dragon. No, Juice Boy. By the way. With lots of love, Naruto Biel, your not-so-secret obsession." Xoxoxo. Crushing the letter into a ball, Valley proceeded to throw the basket off of his bed in a fit of rage. Stomping the body pillow, he kept at it until finally running out of steam. Once his head cleared, Valley collapsed on his bed, closing his eyes, waiting for sweet unconsciousness to take him. He did make sure to think of all things painful he could subject Naruto to. Biel Castle. Garden. Shiki gently brushed her hands through her master's blonde hair, careful not to disturb him too much. Kamui left early in the morning to continue training under Sun Wukong, leaving them alone. Naruto decided to take a nap. Originally they planned to trek through Dragon Mountain so Naruto could recruit potential peerage members, only for him to fall asleep in the garden. Considering their current environment, Shiki begrudgingly allowed him to use her lap, knowing full well once he woke a slew of lecherous comments would surely follow. The things she did for her lovable master. "You sure have some soft hands, Shiki," Naruto drawled out. "Man, I forgot how great these naps felt. Or maybe it was your juicy lap pillow." "Master," Shiki warned, her gray eyes narrowing slightly, "I do not understand why you dragged me out here only to spend our morning napping. There are much better things to do with the time." "Blasphemy. Nothing is better than a daily nap." Rolling her eyes, Shiki wanted to push Naruto off of her lap but decided against it for now. While annoying to no end, he was still her friend no matter how painful that statement felt. "Will you get off my lap now? Shiki, you have allowed me to experience the legendary lap pillow." Naruto began using an unusually serious tone. A large smile soon stretched widely across his face. "I am going to enjoy every second laying on your juicy thighs. How about we talk about our upcoming raiding game?" "Ah, the one against Deodora Astaroth. Old man wants him dead. Not really much to it. Just a simple ass kicking. Not that I am against those orders," Naruto mused thoughtfully, smiling slightly as he felt Shiki's soft calloused hand brush through his hair. "There have been some rumors surrounding his peerage. You know how they are all former nuns, right?" Shiki simply nodded in affirmation. "Well, some low-class devils have been openly talking about his recruiting methods for his peerage. Supposedly he charms the nuns and has them excommunicated from their churches. Only then does he come to save them from their punishment, using their grief to have his way with them. Do you believe those rumors? HMPH, of course. If you know Deodora long enough, you would see his well-mannered personality is nothing but a lie." Naruto said, his hardened gaze locking intently on a patch of grass. "No high-class devils believes those rumors only because low-class devils are the source of them. Those that do, rarely show an issue with what he did. The fact that barely anyone cares just pissed me off." Feeling the all-too-familiar power of destruction shroud around her master, Shiki gently caressed his cheek, hoping to calm him down somewhat. From her position, She spotted Naruto's normally friendly smile replaced by an angry scowl. One thing Naruto outwardly hated were people who took advantage of others for their own gain. Knowing how passionate her master felt about the topic brought a serene smile on her usually emotionless visage. On those occasions where he turned serious, his demonic power tended to seep out of his body in an uncontrolled fashion. "Should I kill the Astaroth then, master?" Shiki asked, her dark eyes shifting to an ethereal blue with an ominous red outline around her pupil. "I am more than happy to relieve you of this headache." "Nah. If you kill him, the Astaroths will probably bitch and moan about how a low-class devil killed their heir. Unlike you, they won't be able to touch me," Naruto refuted, mildly touched by her offer. "Sides, I am going to enjoy watching him shit his pants." Grinning wryly at the crude words, Shiki giggled at the image forming in her head. Staring down at Naruto, she said, "Watching may be more enjoyable. Do you regret being reincarnated? Why do you ask, master?" Shiki questioned gently, face adopting a confusion expression. The sudden shift in conversation perplexing her. It was unusual for Naruto of all people to be so serious while they were in such an interesting position. Deciding to give the inquiry some thought, she pondered over memories of her last few years. There had been a period of unfamiliarity for her. She experienced her fair share of pain, but all in all nothing really regretful came to mind. "Humor me." "No." Shiki answered, her thoughtful expression changing to a full-blown smile. "I've had fun so far, Naruto." "Good. That's good to hear, Shiki. I am glad." Hearing the relief in her friend's voice, Shiki simply emboldened. Her smile pleased, her words soothed his tense mood, allowing a pleasant silence to fill the lull in their conversation. Shiki turned her attention over to the large apple orchard surrounding the castle. The Biel clan produced an impressive amount of their special apples each year. Considering the large demand for them, it was only logical they expanded. Seeing how many orchards resided in the Biel clan's territory still marveled her even after so many years she spent in the underworld. Unbeknownst to Shiki, Naruto studied her while his conversation with Zekrom resonating in his mind. "Hey Shiki, Holding her gaze, Naruto asked, "Do you remember that question I first asked you when you were reincarnated?" "Yes. Can you answer it now?" Sighing in defeat, Shiki kept her expression neutral as she pursed her lips slightly in contemplation. Debating internally about whether or not to answer, she finally, after some minutes of silent debate, nodded her head, officially ready to give him her answer. Keeping her hands firmly to her side, she spoke. "There was a boy, Mikaya Kokuotu. That was the boy you liked. I asked him on a date once and, never mind." Spotting the familiar look of nostalgia wash over Shiki's face, Naruto sat up and reached into his pockets, producing one of his 8 remaining pawns. Holding it out for her to see, he used his free hand to grab Shiki's. Placing the pawn on her open palm, he diligently wrapped his larger palms around hers. He grinned before speaking. "I can reincarnate him. It won't much a bother, really. It's just one evil piece. I don't mind at all." "Naruto, I can't ask you to. I am offering." "Shiki, there's a difference. You're my friend. If you want to be with him, then I'll support you 100%. Naruto interrupted quickly, giving her no reason to say no. Squeezing her hand comfortably, he freed her hands from his own and flashed her another smile. "Think about it, okay?" Watching him stand up to leave, Shiki decided to ask a question of her own. "Naruto, why are you offering me this?" "Well, you never asked me for anything over these years we spent together. I want to at least give you a friend, or even the man you love." He then bid her goodbye, leaving her alone to her thoughts. Gazing thoughtfully at the pawn resting in her hand, Shiki fought off her urge to return it and kept it wrapped snugly around her fingers. Did she want Mikaya reincarnated like her? Thanks for watching.